sure that it's happening over here. And now we are live, and there we go. Now we stopped that from playing.
Nice. Oh yeah, where can I view the chat for this? It's on your YouTube, right?
Oh, it should be right on the side. Do you see comments on the side of this?
Oh
interface?
yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, sick. What's up?
Yeah, you could
Hello,
even like,
everyone.
do things like that. That person I think put in a emoji for buffering, but just
Just saves buffering.
yeah. Hey Adam. Hey Popbot. I've recommended you Popbot like twice, I think, on two different occasions, only for us to realize that, he's a member of both of our communities.
Yeah. We hung out a lot actually, and voice chatted my server, working on music and stuff.
Nice. And there's Christopher Floyd.
Sister good at music guy. Yep, that's me.
Yeah. Chris Floyd's a awesome game developer.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So how's it going? We probably spent 30 minutes solving RME StreamYard issues, but
Yeah, doing better now that I can't hear myself in my headphones.
when you first said that, I thought that you meant that like you don't ever want to hear your own voice. Like I didn't know that you were having an echo. I thought that you just meant like I don't ever want to hear myself. And I'm like,
no.
Really? How do you know that you're like talking into the microphone properly? But
Yeah, I mean, I don't like to hear my voice signal coming back through my headphones. It makes, especially if there's like a little bit of latency, it like throws my brain off and shit. It makes it hard to talk.
oh yeah, that's I made a device with. Have you ever heard of the Axolotl? It's like a little project board type thing where you could. It's sort of like a reactor type interface where you could like make little effects and stuff like that.
Kind of like Arduino or something.
Kind of, but it's made for music, and it's an older teensy board. I mean, the thing's incredible. If you could hunt one down, I don't know where the hell mine is, but I actually sold cases for them for a
So
while.
what's it called?
Axolotl, like AX, like just type axolotl, but with an I instead of an L at the end, or axolotl, but a I at the end. And then maybe like, music or
Yeah, it just comes up with axolotls.
Yeah.
And now it's just coming up with like the axolotl song a bunch.
Good lord. All right.
Yeah.
Let's see. Wow, this thing's really buried, isn't it? Huh. Music.
Did I find it?
Okay. Here, I'll send you the link. I think I found it.
Oh, I found it. The Xylo
Yeah.
box.
Yeah.
Okay, I found the Facebook page.
Has MIDI and all that stuff. They have a not secure website. I'll just post it in the general chat for everybody to look at. Well, anyway, so on one of those, I made a device. It was going to be like one of my earlier videos, but it just seemed like too weird. I made a device that like delayed your voice anywhere between like 100 milliseconds and like maybe 6 seconds, and it just had a randomizer, like a sample and hold randomizer, and then played it back to you using hypersonic sound. So it would like vibrate your head with your own voice a few seconds after. And like my goal with it was to try and make a professional speaker unable to speak, like just a sonic weapon that would, and you could just like point it like a shotgun mic and that, and just point it at like a newscaster or something, and they'll just have a word salad, like they won't be able to finish their sentence. It's like
That'd be funny as fuck,
Yeah.
dude.
That actually, now I'm thinking about it, like that actually would be kind of a hilarious thing to do with, like go to KnobCon or something, and just interview people and ask them a question and then have them
And just have it on your camera or something.
Look, I have to write this down. That's actually an amazing.
Yeah, honestly.
That'd be an amazing prank. A good KnobCon prank.
Yeah.
Better than like punching people in the dick, which is what I did last year. Just walked up to them and punched them in the dick as hard as I could. Didn't
Reasonable.
work out.
Good
Yeah.
prank.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Hey,
Hilarious
can I get a
prank.
picture with you? Just push. Yeah, sure. Come on. What flavor are you vaping?
Just tobacco flavor. Yeah,
You
the
didn't
scent's
smoke
going on.
cigarettes though, did you?
I used to smoke a lot of cigarettes, but like since going like sober, I just was like, I need something, so I just started vaping again.
Yeah, that
Because
works.
when I first got out of rehab, I didn't vape all through rehab actually. But a lot of people there were smoking like constantly. I was like, all right, I'm not going to start smoking again. But I was drinking like 40 fucking coffees a day, and I
Hmm.
was like, all right, this isn't good either. So
Yeah, right.
I
Huh.
just tried to balance it out with all the things that are bad but not so bad. You know, tried to find the least evil things.
I vaped throughout, like, it mostly with non-nicotine, but I did use nicotine from sometimes. I would vape throughout my like fighting like camps and stuff, just because
Huh.
I was able to keep my diet on. So yeah, I was able,
Oh, right, like
just
as a appetite suppressant.
almost like just to be able to like get that dopamine fix of like tasting some apple pie or something or some graham cracker, and I don't know that
Oh,
when
gotcha.
your
Okay, yeah,
caloric intake is like so heavily regulated that it's like unnatural, and so it
right.
I don't think it zapped my cardio very much, but um,
Huh, interesting. It's definitely zapped my cardio a bit. I can tell for sure.
is this tobacco flavor is the only legal flavor in the I forgot about that because they used to
Is that
have
actually true?
you used to go to a vape shop and it was like every possible like I've seen a roast beef flavor literally just like a
They definitely have like all sorts of flavors at the vape shop I go to still.
well don't name them because
Okay.
the the SWAT team of Georgia or whatever.
Oh
um
yeah, no, I won't say
yeah yeah
which shop, but I mean like flavors. They have all sorts of shit like raspberry and grape and watermelon and like all this. Those flavors are so disgusting. Like I don't know. I don't want to like when I'm hitting like a nicotine thing. I don't know. I just want to taste nicotine and tobacco. I don't want to taste fucking raspberries and shit.
oh yeah yeah I think it was just like a
Wonder
good
why? Why did they make the tobacco flavor the only?
because the argument was that like it was getting kids to vape because kids were like, oh,
Oh,
I
that
could
makes sense.
I could have, but it kind of doesn't at the same time. But I don't know. Yeah, like I don't think that like, oh, I want to inhale some bubblegum flavor. Like, is that really
Yeah,
gonna?
it's true. Selling other flavors is illegal. Huh.
Huh? Vape juice in general was illegal for a really long time in Canada when it was like at its height. Here, it was illegal. Like you would have these sort of like gray market vape shops that would and in Vancouver and stuff they would sell like it'd be like a dispensary and you could like under the table get your weed and then like under the table be like I'd also like some vape juice please. You would hook it up. It's funny. But yeah.
Awesome. How's that thing going next to you, the Osmos?
I
You
love it.
still in it?
Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah, I've like mounted it up with this thing because it's
Mm.
such a treat to be able to like play the chords on this and then play the expressive lead on that thing.
Yeah, I bet.
Um,
How's the Craigslist speaker thing going?
that's so I'm fucking done with that thing.
Really?
Everybody will know what I'm talking about in like 5 days. But
Are you doing a video on it?
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
I filmed some stuff with it. I added about like probably $150 worth of pipes to it, and then, but I took them off for when you and Gardner get a a piece of it. Um, yeah, basically, Bill's friend Gardner sent just in a chat that we had sent a Craigslist post thing and I was like, I'm gonna go pick this up, and it's just a very weird, gigantic device that has, yeah, yeah. I made it feedback. Got some good reverb out of it. It's, yeah,
yeah. I'm interested to watch that video. It's a weird device. Yeah, it was a weird thing to just be on Craigslist too.
yeah. He said it was
Some
up there for a year. That he's like posted it multiple times.
Oh, geez. Yeah, I
Yeah,
guess nobody really has uses for that kind of stuff except for weird experimental audio engineer type people.
yeah. And yeah, it's like one of those things where like I bet if he put it on eBay for $50 with free shipping, a lot of people would be like, hell yeah, But I think that in our case, yeah, or in his
Right,
case,
because he only had it available for pickup in local area or whatever.
it's so heavy too. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's like 100 pounds. His version is like 100 pounds, and then my version probably cleared
Oh, wow.
200. And
How
yeah,
did you end up getting it into your house?
fucking yeah.
Did you carry it by yourself?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
I was like, whenever those situations come in, like there was this thing that happened when I was like maybe 17 years old. I used to, my grandpa, well, maybe a little bit older. My grandpa was sick. He had cancer, the grandpa that raised me. And he was like, pretty masculine person. And I would take his car, I would take his like Cadillac and like go pick up groceries for him and bring them back. And I remember one time I was like, I brought in the groceries and I was like, I went out and he was like, wait, where are you going? And I was like, oh, I still have some bags in the car. And he was like, oh, would you buy too many tampons? I was just like, and so now in those situations, like his head just appears in my brain, and I'm like, I'm gonna get this thing up the stairs. I'm gonna carry all the bags. I'm not gonna.
Yeah,
I'm
you're
not
like,
gonna.
I don't have tampons. I'll show you. Dead
Yeah, I'll
grandpa."
show. Yeah, and he winked at me once I got it upstairs, and now I have to have like the discs in my back replaced or some shit from it. But yeah.
Jeez. Yeah, I feel that.
But
Yeah, I feel like I inherited some work ethic things like that from my dad as well. Where like when I'm working and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna take a break. I'm like, nope, no breaks, fuck you.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
He had this like he still has a very strict work ethic. He's one of those people who will just like never stop working 12 to 15 hours straight every day.
And yeah, and I wonder if that like counts as toxic masculinity.
To some degree, probably. Yeah, I think taking breaks and having a bit more life-work balance is definitely healthy.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, because I've had it. I remember someone. I'm trying to remember man up. Remember when like that word was kind of like in the social media ethos, as like a super toxic thing. It was like a rape culture thing. And that was like one thing I always disagreed with, at least in my experiences, because like, if I told my grandpa when I was younger that I had a crush on a girl and she didn't like me, he'd be like, man up, and that meant like leave her alone, like get on with it. And
in that case, yeah, it's probably a healthy thing. Like,
yeah.
if the girl doesn't like you, just leave her alone is a reasonable message. But oh, you can't pick up that 100-pound thing that's probably going to destroy your back, man up. I think that's toxic.
Yeah, it's weird though, because like, do you think that without that we would have, that either one of us would like be in the position we are today? Like without the crazy work ethic and like
probably not. I mean, I definitely probably wouldn't work as hard as I do if I didn't have a dad who was like that, for sure.
Yeah.
To him, it was just like you either work like 20 hours a day or you're just basically a low life piece of shit kind of.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right. So in my mind now, that's how I feel. Like if I don't work for long periods of time or get a lot done, I'll be really productive or anything like that. I feel that way. I just feel like guilty,
Yeah, I literally, this is like a common thing with my therapist. She like tells me to play video games. Like she's like, no, seriously, you need to carve out time every day. I don't care what, it doesn't have to be even a game that you care about. It could be like something on your phone that you have to like, play video games for an hour. Like otherwise.
Why video games? Is it just because she knows that's something that you can focus your energy on that isn't work, or is it just specifically video games for a separate reason?
Video games, like if I'm really, really stressed out, I must have shared this at some point, but if I was like really stressed out with like a massive workload, like if I'm just like working like crazy, my exit point in my brain, like the relief will be like, I'll just think of a video game and how bad I want to play it. I'll just be like, oh God, I just want to play Minecraft so bad. When I'm done with this, I am going to play, I'm going to get a horse in Minecraft, or, whatever. And then I actually don't want to play Minecraft. Like when I'm done with it, I won't want to play. But, yeah, anything like The Division, just like weird games pop up where it's like this amazing thing. But,
and wait, you use that as like a thing to motivate you to get your work finished so you can do the thing that you pretend you want to do, or it's a thing that...
Well, she was just like, well, play them then. Like,
right.
Give yourself time to play the video games, because that's when, your brain recovers from having too much work. But that's, like, really difficult. Like, I have a lot of trouble doing that. Sometimes I'll even, like, sit in front of a video game and then, like, work from my phone, like, just respond to emails with the video game paused, or just standing in a field in Fallout or something while I'm, like, responding to... So, thanks, Grandpa.
Yeah, I've been playing a lot of Counter-Strike again lately. Like, I've been mixing my album recently, and I find that to be really stressful, like, mixing tunes down, because I just have such a crazy high standard these days for mix downs.
Yeah.
So I'll mix something for, like, 8 hours, get a bunch of anxiety about how I might have made it worse than the mix before, and, like, how some all this just bullshit, anxiety and like existential dread that I get from doing mix downs. And then so lately whilst doing that, I'll do like a mix down for like a few hours, and then play a few rounds of Counter-Strike, and then mix down for a few hours. And I find it's good to kind of balance the stress.
Well, yeah, and also like if you're just mixing for too long, your compass gets completely thrown off, doesn't it? Like, don't you just start
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
forgetting what is good and what is bad? It's like this weird.
It is, yeah, and to some degree, that's how I've like validated playing a lot of Counter-Strike recently. Is like I have to take these breaks anyway. But I could be doing something better with the break time. I could do exercise or something more productive, probably. CS is rage-inducing. I don't find it rage-inducing, actually. I find it pretty fun. And also, like, when somebody like loses their shit in Counter-Strike and like becomes all salty and shit, it's like the funniest fucking thing to me in the world. I don't find anything more funny than somebody getting salty at a video game, probably.
I don't think I could ever make somebody salty at Counter. Like I would just get owned so much in Counter-Strike.
Dude, people get salty about the weirdest shit. Like you could be winning and people could get salty. It's so weird, that game, man. People are just like
Did you play much Call of Duty?
I've never played that, actually. I've made music for it, but I never played it.
So in I think called Modern Warfare 2 or something, you could get if you like get enough kills, you get a nuke, which just ends the game for everybody, right? It's kind of stupid. But like when thinking back to it, it's like a really dumb game mechanic. But like everybody tries to get the nuke, and Kettle and myself, Reimer, we used to play on Xbox 360, and we used to nuke boost, which is where like he would just let me kill him over and over again in some secret spot that we'd run to, and then nuke the server, and that would make people like really. But that's like the only way I think I could make anybody upset in a video game. But
it's like finding some loop.
We would and it was amazing because people would get so angry and they'd see us running to the spot, and then of course they'd call us gay. Because they're like, look at these two gays. They'd use a word a lot worse than that.
I always say, dude, video games are like the best way to keep tabs on who's fucking your mom.
Oh, yeah. And everybody.
Turns out a lot of people on Counter-Strike.
Yeah. Red Dead Redemption. Yeah, I've played a lot of Red Dead Redemption. I played the original and then Redemption and then the part 2.
I did not play that game. 10K hours of CS, jeez, man.
Wow,
I've got about 2.5K.
10K.
Yeah, I got about 2,500 hours on CS.
Wow.
And probably about another 2,000 to 5,000 hours in Minecraft, probably. How long is that? Like, how long is 2,500 hours?
I wanted to look it up, but I don't want this person to know.
Let me see. Like, 2,500 hours divided by 24. Is like 104 straight days of my life. So, and I'm not awake for 24 hours. I'm only awake for like, say, I don't know, half of that. So let's say it's more like 200. It's more like almost a year of my time has been spent playing Counter-Strike. That's fucking wild.
Wow. That makes me think, I wonder what my most played Steam game has been.
Can you rank it by most played?
I think so, yeah. I think you could look at your hours. I know you can on Xbox too. And I bet it would be surprising, whatever it is. I'll look now. Yeah, I bet it'll be like something ridiculous that I would never expect.
I don't know how you rank your
there it is.
Your Steam games by hours played.
I think it's in community. Let's see. Activity. I don't know. I've done it before, like years ago.
Look it up.
But, yeah.
Rank Steam games by hours played. Sort the games in your Steam library by time played would bring the most played games of your favorite to the top of the list. Not in the library, but go to your profile, recently played all games, and then on the right, click playtime.
Ah, okay. Recently played.
And then...
Okay, so Rocket League, 162 hours.
That's like not bad at all.
Yeah, but that's like my top one. The Division, 109 hours. Stardew Valley's 51. Days Gone, 46. Well, I didn't think I played that long. I played MIDI Noose for about 30 hours.
I got about I think I got like 40 minutes in MIDI news.
Yeah.
Yeah, 40 minutes.
Did it fit your? Did it not fit your workflow?
No, not really. I mean, it was pretty fun, but yeah, I probably wouldn't use it that much for like actual work.
Yeah, I really want to try it on a Steam Deck or something. I don't know. Like I feel like that would maybe with its own sounds, like a couple of its own. That'd be kind of a fun Steam Deck thing. But yeah, I'm surprised the developer's not here.
Yeah, honestly, like every other one of my games is like, I don't know, anywhere from like 30 minutes to like 2 or 3 hours, and CS:GO is 2,100 hours.
How many games do you have in all games? Or I guess if you just click like
78.
yeah, I have like 216.
But a bunch of them I haven't even played. Like I'll buy them because I have like some Steam credits. Like so when you play Counter-Strike, you get drops in games. So I would get like these crate drops. And every time I get a crate drop, like when you get a crate drop, you have to buy a key to open it, and then you can get like a skin for a gun or something out of it. But I'll never like buy the key to open it. But instead what you can do is you can sell the crate online all around the Steam market for like anywhere from $2 to $5 because people seem to pay that for, it's basically gambling. So I made like probably all up like $400 or $500 that way just from selling these crates. So whenever I make enough money from selling crates, I just buy a game that I think I might want to play at some point.
Didn't somebody like on their first week of Counter-Strike just unlock the most valuable thing? I just read some article where they unlocked some knife skin that was worth like over $100,000, and it was like
$100,000 for a knife skin.
Yeah, and it was like his first week doing it, and everybody was kind of like outraged by it.
Most expensive item in CS:GO. Let's see. Okay, the 11 most expensive. This is updated in 2023. All right. So
this just happened. This was like in the news this week.
So a Dragon Law AWP is... Dude, this website fucking sucks. All right. So there's an AK-47 Fire Serpent that's anywhere from 500 to 8,000. An AK-47 Gold Arabesque, anywhere between 3,000 and 15,000. An M4A4 Howl, anywhere from 2,000 to 12,000. An AK-47 Wild Lotus, anywhere from 3 to 20,000. Another AWP skin, 6 to 20,000. Factory new Crimson Web Knives, a 6 gram plus. A Karambit Butterfly M9 Bayonet Emerald Sapphire knife is 15 to 25 grand. Oh shit, you can like get these gloves, these sport gloves that just go on your character that are between 20 and 50 grand.
What the fuck?
And then there's a particular AK that you can get that's between 30 and 120 grand.
And to think that people are like upset about.
Oh yeah, there is a souvenir AWP Dragon Law that's 100 grand plus, and then the most expensive item in CS:GO is a Karambit case hardened blue gem, which is 2 million plus. That's fucking wild, dude. And it's literally, it's just a fucking color in a, like it's a piece of, it's a line of code, basically.
Yeah, right.
It's like $2 million.
Yeah, that's nuts. That's crazy.
120K for what? So yeah, so maybe like Google CS:GO skin so positive too, you can see what it is, and whoever else doesn't.
Yeah.
Doesn't.
Well, I have it on the screen right now.
Okay, so the screen, the skin, is just like what the knife looks like or what the gun looks like. So by default, you have like an AK-47 in CS:GO, and it just looks like a normal AK-47. But you can get these other skins that just like where the AK-47 might be red and have like a graphic on it. Yeah, so you can see that knife that he's holding right there. It's not the default knife. It's like a, it's like a skin that just looks kind of cool, I guess. And yeah, people for some reason just hold these things at like crazy value. But it's not necessarily, I think, because they think it looks so cool that they would pay $2 million for it or 150 grand for it. It's just that everyone agrees that it's worth that much, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like I don't know, it's like some weird economy within CS:GO.
So it's just kind of like money, I guess, right? It's just kind of
pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, you get these case drops in game, and if I wanted, I could buy keys and open these cases in the hopes of getting some really expensive thing. But I just sell the cases, and over the course of playing CS:GO, I've made like $500 doing that. So basically, all my games on Steam come from doing that.
Do you think that adds incentive for you playing the game, or do you think that it's just kind of like moot?
Yeah, that's just like an extra benefit, I guess, of playing. I definitely don't play like it's the most inefficient way to make money for sure.
Oh yeah, I mean, I guess like is there like a dopamine rush of some sort from playing the I guess yeah, just from playing the game and knowing that you might get something that has some form of value, I guess. But yeah, if you're not opening them,
Nah,
because I've had that
that's
in like
yeah.
Rocket League, The Division has them. I think even Fallout 76 has them. It seems like everybody's tried that recipe, but yeah, I mean, I guess if and then yeah, a lot of companies try. It seems like they try to set up systems where they can actually skim off of the price, but that never seems to work out, does it?
Right. Since the Russian-Ukraine war started, the
Wow.
case price has gone up. They also use the CS:GO market to transfer money out of Russia. That's wild.
That's
A lot of people are,
interesting.
like CS:GO is a massive game in Europe, like
Yeah.
Russia and some of the Eastern European countries. Some of the biggest teams are from there. Like the biggest team ever basically is from Sweden. And then there's another few big teams from like Ukraine and Russia and also where else? France. And
Yeah, but like I guess wouldn't it be more efficient? Like I guess wouldn't it just be more efficient for everybody involved to just use crypto?
probably
Just to just wash some Bitcoin and go about it? But
most likely, but I guess like maybe they don't. Yeah, I'm sure they probably know how to use crypto, but I don't know.
they're like, I don't understand crypto, but opening these loot boxes for this knife skin to buy more bullets. Yeah, yeah, that's interesting. That's
It's like the IRS are not going to look at CS:GO case transfers.
yeah, right. They that reminds me of the oh god, what's that company that makes the loop pedal where the I feel like I think of every detail except for the names. I have some sort of problem, but that War Dogs, you've ever seen that movie?
Yeah, where
So
Jonah Hill and stuff are selling the guns.
yeah, one of those guys opened up a pro audio company that it's so funny because I did the reason I know about this is I'm just gonna search for War Dogs Looper. It's whoever makes Beat Buddy. Beat Buddy. Where is it? Yeah, Singular Sound.
Mm.
And so they yeah, so one of the guys opened up Singular Sound after he got out of prison. And I remember I did a video of the Arrows Looper and like years ago and people were like, "Wow, that sucks you would support a fucking weapons trading person." I'm like, "What the fuck are you
Like
talking
it's
about?" I
a
had no idea.
movie, bro.
But it is honestly one of the nicest companies I've ever done. Like in terms of like the yeah that guy and the everybody who works for that company is super super nice and I'm assuming it's a dumb thing he did when he was younger. Well, not dumb. He made millions of dollars. So
What did he do?
he he basically I believe the crime. I could be completely wrong, but I believe the crime was that he was buying shitty bullets from the Bosnian Serbian conflict and then repackaging them as new bullets and then selling them to the military to use in Iraq.
Huh.
And
I
then he
mean,
made Beat
someone was
Buddy.
gonna do it, right?
Yeah, well, I think it was interesting because it just seems like there's like a website that you could just bid on government contracts, and they would always put the lowest number in, and so the government was like, all right, we'll buy bullets from you, and then they'd, just sell them some old rusty bullets that they refilled with new gunpowder or some bullshit like that. And
Huh.
but I do wonder if anybody died as a result of that, like if some of those bullets didn't.
Most likely, I would say if it was like a large number of bullets,
I,
then I don't know.
but I think bullets aren't that complicated. They're just like the steel casing with
There was a bit of
gunpowder in 'em, right?
gunpowder in it. I think so.
So
Yeah, they are. I don't know. You could like justify it by being like, they probably just used them in training.
yeah, or you could be like, maybe they didn't kill someone who was innocent. Maybe
Yeah.
they saved their lifesavers. Really, we should be.
I mean, if you forge metal at a steel rolling factory and then that steel gets bought by someone who sells it to the military and it gets turned into a tank and goes and kills someone, it's like, I don't know, at the end of the day, selling a bullet is more directly harmful than selling some steel for sure.
Yeah,
But I don't know. At the end of the day, the military's buying all sorts of shit to kill people with, and so much you can do about it, unfortunately.
Yeah. 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 This is a good point right here. That they could kill a person.
Yeah.
It's
You don't want to shoot someone with a rusty bullet. That's not as
Yeah.
good for them as a clean bullet.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you want like a straight through. But yeah, that was kind of surprising. The people who show up in the pro audio market. But yeah, their looper's nice. They also have MIDI Maestro, which is a nice MIDI pedal.
Wait, so this dude who started Beat Buddy, who was in War Dogs, also actually sold bullets to the military.
Well, in the War Dogs like story, that's sort of what that's about. Is like how he got involved.
So he didn't do it in real life, or the
No, he
story...
did. War Dogs is a real. Yeah, sorry, War Dogs is a
okay.
real story. Yeah.
Oh, shit. Okay. That was the one with it was with Jonah Hill, right?
Yeah, but Jonah Hill wasn't the singular sound guy. The singular sound guy was another person.
But the singular sound guy was the dude that Jonah Hill played.
Yeah. No. It was his friend. I don't remember the actor's name. The smaller guy. The guy who Jonah Hill in that movie was like the sociopath, and then.
Yeah. Who was the other guy? It was
Yeah, I'm trying to remember his name.
Miles Teller. Is that him?
Maybe. No, David Packouz. Yeah.
David who?
Packouz, Packouz. Yeah, it was Ephraim and David Packouz. Yeah, they won $200 million worth of government contracts.
Damn.
Yeah.
Oh, and Ephraim. Okay, yeah. Wait, the first thing that comes up when I search this guy is his net worth. Let's see what his net worth is. It's
I want to see what your net worth is.
2.9 billion. My net worth? How would anyone know?
None of them are real. Like
Sure.
let's look. Or can I make this a? We could look at our net. How do we look at our net worth? With both of us on this. There we go. There we go. Let's look.
Oh, that is my birthday, actually, and
you're a disc jockey.
Yeah, it actually this much is correct. How much does it say my net worth is? My political views.
Muge.
Muge?
5 million.
Okay, that's not true. It's a lot more than that. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I wonder how the fuck do they even... What is this? How does this person have this information?
They just like scrape Wikipedia, I think, and just...
I earn $8,000 a year. What?
Nice, man. Nice. That's great. This one's a little different than the other, I think.
What can Mr. Bill buy with $100 of what?
Is this your net worth is between $4,000 and $26,000.
This looks like it's basing it just off my YouTube channel,
Yeah.
which I never update. I should do more YouTubing, to be honest. I always have these video ideas, and I'm like, oh man, I should make that, and then don't end up making it.
Yeah, I want to see what they say.
You got to do it from the same site though to compare what the same site. Oh yeah, that's you right there. Yeah,
1.4 million. Yeah, that's me.
Oh nice.
Okay, so this fucking guy, right? Ben Jordan with 2 N's on the Jordan. I'm not gonna look at him on Instagram, but so he is a model. He's a male model, and he's pretty popular. And I remember one day on Snapchat, I just got so many teenage girls being like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I was just like, "What is going on?" And it caused me to like stop using it because I was like, "This is honestly like sketching me out a little bit." And I think they were just confusing my username with his. It's like he announced that he had opened a Snapchat or something. Something happened where like everybody was like messaging him. And then a few, like I would say probably in last November, an agency, a marketing agency contacted me. And this is like normal because I have a YouTube channel or whatever. It's like I get a couple of those a week minimum. But they were like, "Hey, we're interested in your Instagram and working with I forgot the whatever company sells like shoes and high fashion stuff online." But they're like, "We're looking for. They want you to like." Basically, you'll have a person you'll tell them what you plan on doing in a month. You know, you'll say like, "Oh, I'm going to go mountain biking on this day," and then they'll pick out an outfit. and you post a picture of you mountain biking in that outfit, and you have to do like 2 a month. And we'll, and how much would you want for that? And I was like, ooh, I like this idea because I hate Instagram. And so just monetizing my Instagram entirely would actually be, pretty awesome to just be like, oh, these are my posts. I don't give a fuck about Instagram. I make money from it now. And so I quoted them at a pretty high price, like, it was like 12,000 or something, like 1,000 a month to do that. But not anything outrageous. And yeah, we went back and forth. They thought they were talking to him. Like, because I was thinking, I was like, what are they doing? Like a weird dad campaign where they want like, what's this thing to like, why me? That's weird. But no, they wanted that Ben Jordan.
Damn. How did they find out that you were the not Ben Jordan? Or did you find out and then tell them?
No, they just ghosted me. And then I realized.
Oh, gotcha. They probably just realized at some point.
Yeah. They were probably like, oh, fuck. We nailed the YouTuber. But I mean, I think that I'm the more popular Ben Jordan, but, I could have gotten some money for Instagram.
Wait, so your last name doesn't have 2 N's, right? It's just your first name that has 2 N's.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. So they like confuse where the 2 N's go. And
Yeah.
he has what? No, he doesn't have 2 N's on the Ben, but 2 N's on the Jordan.
He has 2 N's on the Ben. He has 1 N on the Jordan in real life. However, my name was already taken. So, because, he probably wasn't born. I probably created my Instagram before he was born or something. I don't know. I have no idea how young he is, but yeah, he is the younger and fresher of the Ben Jordans.
Shame.
Yeah. I hope to meet him someday. I think that actually be
unfortunate.
pretty funny. Yeah. Well, I mean, like I don't know what he does. I don't know. I'm assuming he makes a living being a model, but probably not the best one. Models don't really make that much.
Yeah, I mean, it's just all from like what you said, right? Like wearing different clothes and posting them, or being at events just so it looks like there's attractive people at the event or something.
Yeah.
Imagine your only monetary value coming from you being attractive. Like the amount of anxiety you would have about aging would be fucking crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I have enough just being like, oh, my brain is going downhill over time. I'm going to be less smart tomorrow than I was yesterday. And that freaks me out constantly. And yeah, imagining like if it's looks.
Right, and then getting to 40 or 50 or however long until people don't think you're attractive anymore and being like, fuck, I'm dumb and I have no skills. Not that all models have no skills. Obviously.
I bet that there's like a common delusion where they're like, well, yeah, but then I'll go like through my George Clooney phase, and then I'll go through my like, like then I'm trying to think of like my Clint Eastwood phase when I'm just a babbling idiot. Not to be mean to Clint Eastwood, but did you see The Mule, his like last movie?
No, was it another thing about the war and shit? Or
no, he was like a drug mule, but like he was an old man who's just like it's just the dumbest fucking movie, and it's like #1 on Netflix, and I'm just like I couldn't believe it.
Damn, is it good or is it shitty?
It's terrible. It's it's like honestly, it's like an 8-year-old wrote it. Like the writing is so bad.
I've been watching The Sopranos for the first time, actually.
Nice.
I watched Breaking Bad all the way through, and then I asked a friend, like, what should I watch next? And he was like, have you seen The Sopranos? And I was like, nah. And he's like, definitely watch it. I would give it, like, on the Breaking Bad scale, if Breaking Bad is a 10, I'll say The Sopranos is like an 8.5,
What season are you on?
I'm on, just started season 5.
Yeah. I put The Sopranos just a bit higher than I put it significantly higher than Breaking Bad. Not like...
Really?
Not like Sopranos is a 10 and Breaking Bad's a 5, but like I would say like 10 to 8 or something.
Here's why Breaking Bad is better, because it doesn't have a 4.5-minute intro on every episode.
Yes. That era of HBO shows, The Wire, fucking Carnival, like they're all great shows, but like, yeah, the intro.
It's like they play a whole song. With like a montage of shots, and they do it every episode. It's like, why?
Yeah, and Breaking Bad is just like some like tin can guitar and
it's like a 4-bar riff with like the chemical symbols, and then you're in.
Yeah.
No recap every episode too. Like, this is what happened last time.
Yeah. Yeah. Fortunately, you could like now you just have that button that you could press to skip past it. At least I hope you can.
They don't have it on Hulu. You have to. I just like have to spam my right arrow.
Oh, The Sopranos is on Hulu. Okay,
Yeah.
because I figured you're watching on Max. It's yeah. I don't want to spoil anything, obviously, but like I think that like what I liked about The Sopranos in general that you could take away from the first seasons over Breaking Bad is that Breaking Bad was about like a powerless man gaining power and then just going crazy with it and like getting out of control. And The Sopranos is like a powerful man losing it to mental health issues, which is like which I guess was like pretty fascinating to like for the time now that like everybody's constantly talking about trauma and PTSD and things like that. But I guess at the time, yeah, it's hard to like to think of the show without having watched it when it was out, when all these things were kind of like more unspoken. Like you didn't really speak of like trauma or anything like that. But you see it in Tony where, like friends that had died and things kind of come up in his dreams and weird things like that. And
Right.
I thought that was really powerful. But
yeah, I'm right at the point where Chrissy has like gotten a heroin addiction and then gone to rehab, and they're trying to do some like sus stuff with buying houses in New Jersey with like a dodgy appraiser and stuff and
yeah.
all that kind of stuff. I'm at about that point.
Yeah, I wonder if you're gonna come out of it being like, yeah, The Sopranos beat Breaking. I wonder.
So far, the whole time I've been like, this is like just slightly not as good as like Breaking Bad in terms of the way that like how much it's impressed me and stuff. But it's definitely really good. I'm like definitely really invested in. I'm like not going to start another show until I finish this one. But I am excited to watch the new Black Mirror episodes.
Oh yeah, I haven't watched those yet. I don't know if I am excited to watch them because I think I didn't watch all of last season because I think I just kind of got. I hope that they're not as like dystopian. I mean, I know that's part of the show, but I hope that they like challenge that paradigm a little bit. But sometimes like if I expect it to be that, then see that, I'm kind of like Darren Aronofsky films. The guy who made like I mean, you're familiar with him, right? The
I've heard the name. What's he made?
The Wrestler, Black Swan, Requiem for a Dream, Pi.
Definitely seen Requiem for a Dream.
Yeah, so like everybody loved that movie when it came out. Like you would just like walk into like a party and people would be like, "Have you seen Requiem for a Dream?" And I thought it was like the worst film. Like I hated it. I was just like,
yeah, it was fine. I was not like, this is insane.
Yeah, it was just like people get addicted to drugs and it sucks.
Yeah.
That's the end. Credits.
Yeah.
I was like, what was the point of me watching all this? Like it was just.
I'm looking at other movies he's made. I haven't actually seen any of them except Requiem for a Dream.
Yeah, Pi is good.
Someone's asking, did I watch Better Call Saul? Yeah, I tried. I started watching it right after Breaking Bad, and I got to like season 4 or 5, and then it just wasn't really going anywhere. So I was like, all right, fuck this, and found another show. It like the first couple of seasons of Better Call Saul is good, and then it just kind of.
I actually liked Better Call Saul more than Breaking Bad.
Oh really? Did you watch all of it?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't finish it. I got to a point where I was like, meh.
I thought that it was, what's the guy's name? Vince Gillian, something. But he
the producer or the director, you mean?
And the writer. I feel like it really feels like he learned how to write characters for that format in such a in a way where he could literally make a show about a lawyer interesting. Plus, Mike makes a big resurgence, which is nice.
Mike is awesome, yeah.
Yeah, Mike's like my favorite character in anything.
I still couldn't figure out if Better Call Saul was based after Breaking Bad or before, because in a lot of ways it seems like it was before, but the way that the whole series starts after he gets a fake identity and then he's already talked about working at a Cinnabon and all that shit.
Yeah.
And then it starts with him working in a Cinnabon with a fake identity that's not Saul. So it kind of tricks you at first into thinking that, but then a lot of the things end up being before. So yeah, that bit confused me a bit.
And they're in it too. Jesse and Walt they actually sort of like reshoot one of the episodes when they first meet. Like it actually does collide. I didn't think it would. I was just, just because like, it's 10 years later when they filmed that. So
yeah. I don't know if I made it that far then, but yeah, maybe I'll finish it at some point.
Yeah, this is a great point here. Like you get the backstories on a lot of the cast in Breaking
Yeah.
Bad, which is especially Mike too. Yeah, I guess you sort of like start to understand that character. Um, yeah, no, it's definitely worth a watch. What is the other one that I felt like didn't get a lot of acclaim that I thought was one of the most brilliant shows I've ever seen was The Leftovers. If you've ever seen that,
No, I
it's
haven't.
it's a HBO series, and I think it's it's 3 seasons, and it's basically about a world where like it's an alternate universe essentially. That sounds more sci-fi than it is, but basically the only thing it starts 1 year after 2% of the population disappeared, like,
Hmm.
and just vanished in thin air. And so like you don't know anything about why it happened. There is no like sci-fi things going on, but it's just like what would happen to society if that happened. You'd have like cults, like religious people would get a lot more like um hopped
Yeah,
up, and yeah, and so it's
yeah.
just like, and then things just start, yeah, sort of unraveling from that, and it's pretty amazing. Like,
Huh. I'll check it out. Have you watched The Last of Us?
yes, yeah,
That was good. I watched that recently as well. Pretty cool show where like there's like fungi like cordyceps
mm-hmm.
basically move like it's like a zoonotic or whatever you call it when like something moves from animals to humans, but like
Mm-hmm.
it moves from fungus to humans and just starts creating these like fungus
Yeah,
zombies basically. It's basically The Walking Dead, but instead of zombies, they're cordyceps mushroom zombies.
yeah, it's funny how many people when that game came out, and then especially when the show came out, like how many people just passing in my life, they're like, oh, you're kind of dorky and sciencey, is this possible? And it's like, no. But no, it's not. But yeah. But I mean, we have toxoplasmosis. We do have like crazy parasites that take over our thoughts. But
But that's one that like makes us like addicted to cats or something, right?
yeah, I don't think it. I'm not sure if it does that. It has like these weird side effects because it's
It like makes you
made.
less risk averse, doesn't it?
Well, basically, you're like more likely to be in a car accident. Some studies from Brazil showed that people were more like that men had more testosterone when they had toxoplasmosis. Women were more promiscuous. But I feel like those are just like weird neurological side effects for what it's trying to do to rats and mice. Like
Which
it's
is like trying to make them less risk averse to go closer to cats, right?
yes, yeah, and
Yeah.
like they actually some of them in studies would actually prefer the smell of cat urine to their own family's den.
Hmm.
Like they would just like walk straight into a cat and get wrecked, and then the cat would allow it to reproduce in their system and then poo it out, and then the rats would eat that, and then the cycle continued. But humans got
Damn.
humans got involved, or they got
Yeah,
in the
I
middle of it.
wonder how or why. Yeah, that's strange.
But yeah, there's a parasitic fungus that like takes over the genitals of red cicadas. That one's super weird. It just like numbs them so they don't realize that their genitals are just turning into like a ball of fungus, and then
Huh.
it just makes them into like sex addicts, and then they just like spread it to other ones, and yeah,
It's also like there's a thing that happens with ants, right? Where a mushroom can infect an ant and start growing out of its head and stuff.
yeah, yeah. That's cordyceps.
Right.
Yeah, that's
So they
yeah,
basically just took that idea and like transferred it over to humans.
yeah. Like, what if this
Yeah.
turned into a human thing? I mean, I suppose like rabies is probably the closest, right, to like an actual zombie apocalyptic situation.
Have you seen that fish that somehow like binds to another fish's tongue and
No.
become dude, it's so weird. Let me like try and find it. It's this here I'll like send you the name of it. Where do I send the private chat? Here. This. Google this and bring it up. It's so insane, dude.
Uh huh. Okay.
So basically like it's a parasite fish or whatever and it like binds to another fish, and then it becomes that fish's tongue. So whenever they eat something, it like just goes straight into that fish's mouth instead. It's
That's
such a
so fucking weird.
yeah, right? Super weird.
Nature's incredible, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not believed to be harmful to humans.
I hope not.
Well, I just had scombroid a few weeks ago, which was like,
What is that?
it's so scombroid. It's an infection that you get from eating fresh seafood. Like only certain types of seafood have it, like mahi I had, and if they leave it out too long on like a dock or something like that, and it gets a bacterial infection, usually they could just cook it out and the bacterial infection's not big enough because it's only been there for like an hour or something. It can happen right away. But those types of fish release tons of histamines when that happens. And so you just eat a bunch of histamines. And so I basically had some mahi that was just like coated in histamines and it was like, it was crazy. I thought I was eating it and I was having a beer, like just a Pacifica or something, just like a light beer. And I literally thought that I was just like, I am trashed. Like I am getting really, really drunk because I was getting like so flush in the face and dizzy. And I was like, oh my God. And then I started feeling like quite ill. And then my face got super red and like it like knocked me out for the day essentially. But
Damn, so it's basically like taking a bunch of Benadryl and
the opposite of Benadryl. Yeah. It's like if somebody had like an allergic reaction to like a bee sting, just like sucking all the histamines out and then eating it with fish.
Wait, so would Benadryl have helped?
It did. Yeah, I did take a ton of Benadryl. Yeah.
Right. Have you seen the Benadryl challenge on YouTube?
No.
Where kids eat like 40 Benadryl and then get this crazy high where they think people are talking to them and shit.
Yeah, I used to do that. Not with, well, I mean, it's diphenhydramine, right? So it's like, it's the same thing as Dramamine.
It's like almost lean. It's like a discount lean kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, when I was a teenager, I used to take Dramamine like at higher doses, and I don't know.
That's like for motion sickness, isn't it?
Mm-hmm, but it's the same thing as Benadryl.
Oh,
it's like literally there's like, it's like a molecule off. They both do essentially the exact same thing. But
Tiga's asking if you can overdose on Benadryl. Dude, you can you can overdose on anything. If you drink too much water, you'll die.
But that does make me now wonder what the LD50 of Benadryl is. I should just start a science podcast.
What is prednisone? What is that?
Steroid.
Oh, gotcha.
Prednisone is it's a pretty powerful steroid. It's an oral one. All right, so you have to take over a gram for it to be that. It seems like usually you could just find a bunch of papers right away, but it seems like this TikTok challenge has made it a little bit more. Plus LD50s are kind of, so usually it's like in rats and then it's rounded up because obviously they're not going to just like give people a bunch of, see who dies first and then that's the number.
Someone's saying you can't overdose on mushrooms or LSD. I call bullshit. If you have enough of either, you can definitely overdose.
And what is an overdose? Does that mean death? Or are they referring to overdose, or are they referring to like have essentially unwanted symptoms? Because that's technically...
to get unwanted symptoms from mushrooms or acid is not that hard to do.
Yeah.
You just have to be feeling a little weird beforehand and then do just slightly too much.
Yeah.
Organ shutdown. I mean, you have to go pretty far to do that.
Yeah, the LD50 is 100 milligrams for LSD.
Which is like what it...
it's like an aspirin.
100 micrograms is like a dose that you want to take of LSD, right? So it's what, 1,000 times that or 100 times that?
Microgram, it would be 100.
100 hits of acid would be not good.
Well, so like from my experiences, at least as a teenager, like I used to take tons, and I noticed that like after 4, maybe I kind of wouldn't feel any difference, and it turns out that your brain actually compensates. Like your brain's like, all right, we're not going to have any effect for this because you could. Same with ecstasy. Apparently, you can't like. You can only take so much, and then like after that, your brain's just disposing of it all. Otherwise, you'll have serotonin syndrome, and so, which is apparently why people who are on SSRIs they're not as affected by ecstasy, which kind of makes sense.
Totally, yeah, because you're basically already like rolling, like pretty much.
And your brain's already like conditioned to just get rid of excess serotonin because you're already having so much excess serotonin being uptaked.
I do know that if you're having a bad time on something like acid, or especially on acid, the thing that you should take if you want to replace whatever is on your receptors to feel the opposite way is trazodone. A lot of people think it's benzos, but it's actually trazodone that will do it.
Yeah, benzos will just make you not care, I suppose, as much.
Yeah, reduce the anxiety. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you still take Klonopin?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
I know I've had a few friends who have gone down that route. Like I remember the first time you told me this years ago, I didn't even know what it was, and now I've known what it is for a while now, and I've had a bunch of friends who have gone down this route of getting Klonopin prescriptions, and they all turn into fucking weirdos, man, when they take it. Like they all turn into extremely weird. Like I've noticed a big correlation between people taking benzos and getting really weird.
Huh.
Like antisocial and like kind of angry and like just turn into a dick basically. Like it's happened with at least 3 of my friends.
I wonder if they're on higher doses, or I wonder if that's
Maybe.
like, yeah. I mean, mine. I have a pretty relatively low dose, but even a low dose is addictive. Like you can't just stop taking it. And on 2 occasions in the last year, I forgot to take it, and it was not pleasant, but it wasn't like as bad as I thought it would be, and which makes me a little bit more comfortable with like the idea of starting to taper off. Like I think I'm maybe even in like October, I'm thinking I might finally just get that over with and give myself like 3 months, because I just don't want to do it when I'm traveling or somewhere where I can't like tap out,
Totally. How long have you been taking it for?
Since 2010, I think. Yeah.
Oh,
2010.
wow, that's a long time.
Yeah.
Well, at least it's a small dose. My brother was on 3 whole bars of, was it 3? 6 bars of Xanax a day, which is like a huge amount. And he stopped, he didn't like intentionally stop taking it. The doctors just wouldn't give it to him anymore at one point. And he was like, he had the worst time. Apparently his vision flipped upside down for like 2 days straight. Like the part of your brain that like flips your vision back the right way just was gone. For like a whole 2 days. And yeah, he was just in bed like really sick for about a week. He didn't die luckily, but I've heard you can die coming off benzos if it's a large dose.
Yeah, you have seizures and stuff.
Someone's asking if 6 bars is legal. I don't know if it is here, but he's in Australia, so it's kind of might be different there. Australia actually just became the first country to legalize, or whatever it's called, psychedelics for some. Was it psychedelics or was it MDMA for some sort of therapy?
Oh, really?
This happened like just this week or last week.
Is Australia still like dealing with a massive drug problem?
Yeah, I think it probably
or drug
always,
addiction problem.
I think so. Yeah. With meth especially, and probably not. I don't know if it's as much heroin these days. Definitely meth. I know a lot of people over there who take a lot of meth. Someone's asking me about SAE and if I recommend it.
Speaking of meth.
Speaking of meth, SAE. Yeah. I would recommend it. I got a lot out of it. I think probably any audio engineering course that you do, it's potential that you could get a lot out of it or not very much out of it. And I think it just depends on how you apply yourself and like how much effort and time you put into studying. And because they can tell you, like, they can't explain everything to you, right? But they can give you the resources, and they can kind of give you like tips on where to look to find out the things that you need to know. But if you don't yourself go and dig down those holes and learn them for yourself, then there's not much point to it. But that's the same with going to university for anything, right? It's like you can't expect a teacher to walk you all the way through how to program in C plus or like JavaScript or something. Like you're gonna have to do some work by yourself at some point. So yeah, if you're committed to learning, I think definitely it'll be a good it'll be a decent way to probably up your skills if you put in the effort. Did you ever go to school, Ben, for anything, or?
No, I dropped out of high school.
Damn, that's so crazy, man. Because so you're just like basically an aggressive autodidact then.
I guess so. Yeah, I think like I get asked to like, I get asked to speak at colleges, and I'm even like right now I'm negotiating possibly doing a course at one, and it's kind of funny because it's like part of me is like, oh, so now I'm allowed in this academia thing. Like now I'm not like this kid who couldn't afford it anymore, but now but at the same time it's also like it feels like I've achieved something, cool to be accepted by academia in some way, because it took a long time. I don't know, like it was just this gate kept world, and then finally I started getting hired for like freelance science stuff, and I was just kind of guess I don't need a degree.
Yeah, I have this brush, and it's just got like these sharp pins on the end of it, and YouTube likes to dig her face into it.
Nice.
Like every time I hold it next to her, she just goes like drags her face across it.
Yeah. The MDMA being FDA approved, I'm not obviously an expert, but from what I know about MDMA and the way that it treats the brain, or what it does to the brain, I feel like that's such a bad. I don't know. I feel like there's, especially with how bad things have turned out with a lot of antidepressants, where like the data on antidepressants is so floppy and so flimsy in some ways, where it turns out that some of them literally have like a 0.1% efficacy more than placebo. And then when you think about the dangers of MDMA sort of resetting your serotonin system in your brain just because you're flooding it, it's like, it's terrifying. That's been like I've taken so many drugs that like I should be more just like back in the day, like MDMA was always the one where just understanding how it works, I was like I tried it once and I was just like, nah,
Dude,
I'm good.
I had one day where I ate a gram of MDMA, not at once, like over the period of about 12 hours. I like kept redosing, and I did a gram, which is like 10 hits over the span of about 12 hours. And the next day I was laying in my bed, and I thought I was legitimately going to die. My whole jaw was just like shaking and I couldn't stop it. My stomach felt like someone had gone in there with a cheese grater and just like grated the walls of it. It was horrible.
Yeah, and I know it's I know that it's like assisted therapy and stuff like that, but it just makes me think like, it's one of those things where it's like it could work, but I think we've talked about this before, where it's like medical marijuana, for example. It's like, oh, okay, well, it's an anti-nausea agent that helps people who are going through chemo, right? Okay, great. But there are so many anti-nausea agents that actually work better than that, in clinical trials. And so it should be like what you do on your, fifth attempt after the other ones haven't worked for some reason. And the reason marijuana should be legal is because you should be allowed to put whatever you want in your body as long as it's not affecting somebody else. Like, I always felt like it's kind of a weird, it's weird how the reason we choose to try to legalize drugs, even though it's like, well, it's a fundamental human right to be able to do whatever you want. And, and I feel like that probably leads to more addiction issues, because, people are scared to get help because they're scared of being arrested and things like that.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, I mean, I kind of agree. I think like if you want to do drugs, but obviously it comes at a risk, and you have to be prepared to address that risk if it gets to it. But yeah, I think things like weed, I mean, in my experience, like I've done pretty much like every drug I could get my hands on at this point. And out of all of them, the ones that I've had the biggest issues with, obviously ketamine was the worst, but the other one that was also incredibly horrible for me was alcohol.
Yeah.
I mean, it was way worse. Like I definitely was addicted to weed at one point too, but alcohol was way worse. Like by far.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Say it was probably worse than ketamine too, like in terms of the kinds of risks that I took on, like doing dangerous shit whilst drunk and all that stuff.
well, yeah, and I mean, you could technically stop taking ketamine, and obviously, it's not pleasant for anybody who's mentally, or I mean, I guess there are physical withdrawal symptoms too, but
This is also assuming that what you're taking is ketamine, right?
yeah, but like
But
with alcohol, for example, it's like you could die if you're an alcoholic and you just stop drinking. Like your nervous system can completely break down
yeah,
without
pretty
treatment.
much.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Oh, this dude's 5 years sober. Congrats. Yeah, I haven't drunk alcohol now in shit, how long? Longer than I haven't done ketamine for sure. Wait, someone's asking why do I think Australia is a notorious cocaine lover, even though the prices are ridiculously expensive. I don't know. Maybe it is because they're expensive. It's like a status thing. It's like we're gonna get the shiny plate and do the expensive drugs off it. And like, might be something related to
How
that. But
much?
yeah, the cocaine in Australia is dog shit, and it's like 350 to $400 a gram.
Oh,
Where here it's like you can get a
yeah.
solid gram of like decent coke for like $60.
Hmm. That's kind of crazy. Yeah. And so I guess then that would increase the amount of crack that people smoke too, because freebase would have a
Right.
higher profit margin.
Well, meth is a lot cheaper there, so a lot of people just do meth,
Is
which
it?
is
Oh, I wonder. Oh, I guess because it's being imported from Asia, huh?
I don't know. It might be
Yeah.
even being made there. I'm not sure, but it's yeah. For some reason, it's the drug of choice among many of my drug doing friends there.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, I guess like is pseudoephedrine handled the same way it is here, where like you have to sort of talk to the pharmacist and go on a national registry to get your decongestants.
I don't know about that
I
actually.
wonder. Yeah, I wonder if people are smurfing there. Or
Yeah, one
pseudo.
sec. I'm gonna get a drink. I'll be right back.
Okay. While I search for pseudoephedrine laws in Australia. All right. Yeah, they have to be recorded. It appears it is mandatory for farm. Well, at least in New South Wales. Huh. Well, crazy. Oh, sorry, I'm not scrolling down the chat. Yeah, it's restricted in New Zealand. Hey Ben, do you know any alternative commercial offerings to the Polyend perk or the Data Machines one? It's a solenoid itch, so I've been wanting to scratch, but they look like they're all dead in the water. No, other than making your own. I mean, you could really just buy like an Arduino board and just some solenoids, and there's a bunch of open source code for that sort of thing. I would do that. Maybe an Arduino board with like a yeah, some sort of just like robotic hat controller. You could probably get that done without going overboard on the money. Yeah, it is restricted in Australia. Thank
Yeah, that
God.
makes sense. When did it get restricted?
Um, 2008.
Okay. When did it get restricted in the US?
Probably around the same time.
Okay.
I think like it's like at some point the powers that be figured out that people were turning pseudoephedrine into. But that's also one of those things too, where it's like Sudafed was probably just like probably lobbying hard for it not to be, because from what I know, it seems like some of the drug companies lobbying were lobbying, and then the moment that they restricted it, then they just released this like safer alternative called phenylephrine, which doesn't work at all. I mean, it's almost like it's never done anything for me. And that's the one that you can now buy over the counter without having to talk to the pharmacist. I would say it's not that big of a deal, except that like the last couple times I've been sick, it has been a big deal. Like the last time I was sick was after NAM.
Hmm.
I caught something. I don't even know what it wasn't COVID, but yeah, every time I went to a pharmacy or anything, the pharmacy was closed, and so I couldn't just, took me a while to be able to actually like, get what I needed. But yeah.
So does meth clear a stuffy nose then if it's made out of Sudafed? Or does it get
Um,
processed in such a way where it loses that ability and just becomes a stimulant?
yeah, I mean, I think it opens up your capillaries,
Well,
but
pretty much all stimulants do that, right?
yeah. So I mean, I would assume that it does, but like, it's kind of funny because Donald Trump apparently has like a massive pseudoephedrine habit. Like, apparently he
Hmm.
takes it like constantly.
That
Just
makes sense. I mean, I think he takes a shitload of Adderall. That's what it looks like to me.
yeah,
Like just the amount of shit that he talks and like how on the ball he is for his age. He's got to be taking like 50 milligrams of Adderall a day or something.
yeah, yeah. It's interesting. It's like you wonder if it's just that he has like bursts of of pure, I don't know, of pure energy, and then he just like lays naps for the rest of the time on his jet or whatever. Um, it's funny. An ex girlfriend of mine, her her mom married a really rich guy. Like, her mom got divorced and then married some super rich guy who owned like a massive auto parts company. And when she was like 13 or something, she got invited. Her family got invited to stay at Donald Trump's place in New York. And I mean, this is long before he was like involved in politics or whatever. But I think he was this is probably like when he started at least thinking about getting into show business. And yeah, and she told me that like she would go, and I mean she's like very left leaning and stuff, but like she told me that she like went over there, and and she went there for like 3 summers in a row for like a week or something. And and it's funny because it's the first story that I've heard about Donald Trump that didn't come from some sort of political or media or some sort of thing like that. And anyway, and she said that the first time she went over there, he introduced himself and he was like, "Hey, do you want to see some of my cars?" And like, like, I have some awesome cars. And she was like, okay. And she like followed him, and he like brought her in the garage and like, "This is a Lamborghini, this is a Ferrari, this is something else." And I don't remember the exact detail, but he destroyed something. Like, there was like a vase or something, and he like took it and like pushed it off the table. And he was just like, "I just wanted to let you know that while you're here, if you spill anything or if you destroy anything like that, I don't care. It's fine. Have fun." And it actually like made her really comfortable. Like, she was like, had a super fun time, because at first she was just like, "I'm at Donald Trump's house, oh my god." um but it's an interesting story though, because she made him sound super personable. And when I was listening to that story the first time, I was like, "Oh, this is gonna have a dark twist or something," but no. He seemed like a really nice guy, but who knows.
Hmm.
um,
Yeah, interesting.
yeah,
I haven't heard many positive stories about him, but
right,
I guess
yeah.
that's one.
Dana White says the same thing, the president of the UFC. He's
Hmm.
he claims that Donald Trump, well, I mean, I guess Donald Trump essentially saved the UFC. Like, he kind of like used his own money to make sure that they were still getting some sort of like broadcast agreement or something. Um, and he didn't even know them. But he was just sort of like, "No, they're struggling," and I don't know. But it's, for every one good story, I'm sure there's 500. But yeah, I'm not not trying to sell you on Donald Trump here. It's just interesting to hear those. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
What are you working on musically at the moment? Are you working on music much right now, or mostly just videos?
I mean, obviously a lot of video stuff, but also a lot of piano stuff. I think just sort of, I don't know if it's gonna like result in another album or something, but um, yeah, I've been enjoying jazz piano as usual. I'm not sure why. I sometimes wonder if like I play the piano so much more than I play the guitar now, and I think it might be because I quit playing live shows. I just don't. I'm not rehearsing the guitar as much anymore.
Hmm.
Um, and I was just playing it into that thing we got on Craigslist, and the guitar for like an hour yesterday or whatever, and I have like blisters from it, and I was like, "Oh, that's weird." Like, I haven't had a blister from the guitar in a while. But
Yeah, man, I should play more instruments. When I was younger, I played guitar for like 8 hours a day, every day for I don't know 5 or 6 years straight,
yeah,
and I got really good at it. And then for a while, I played drums for that much time every day for a while as well. Never really got into piano though, but Yeah, I feel like the music that I made around that time was my ear was a lot better at like harmonic stuff than these days, where it's more better at like picking out more surgical frequency stuff and rhythmic stuff.
Sure, yeah.
So I think I should probably get back into playing instruments again at some point.
Yeah, you absolutely. I mean, yeah, you have like a polybrute back there, and you have a guitar in the other room, don't you?
Yeah, I do have an acoustic and electric, and I have the axe effects and stuff, so I can play it through my speakers if I want. Are you how does working on an album go for you usually? Do you just like sort of inherently just make shit all the time and then eventually go like, oh, these ones feel like a family that could be on a release that would make sense? Or do you start from
Yeah,
scratch and kind of linearly build an album?
I'm not sure that I think about albums anymore. Like the last one was just kind of, I even named it 1.0 because it's like I might add to this or subtract from it and then re-release it later as 2.0 or something. I kind of almost think of it that way, but uh, yeah, I'm not sure what I would do with like piano stuff at this point, if I would release it as an album or if I would just like put it on my Patreon or if I would even bother,
You should just do all piano stuff with all extremely glitchy stuff over it and make a whole album of basically Passage D.
Yeah, right.
Just make a hour-long Passage D.
Yeah, just nonstop classical piano.
Just call it Passage D with
Yeah.
like a million Ds.
Yeah.
Someone's asking what bands I like back then. I was really into a band called Sunk Lotto from Australia. I was also really into Metallica actually a lot. I learned like so many of their songs when I was in high school. Super
Same.
into Tool.
E minor, like every Metallica song's in E minor. It's just,
Yeah, pretty much. I think it's just because James Hetfield's voice works around that range.
yeah,
Also, Muse. I was super into Muse. What else? I was into like a bunch of metal shit, like this band called Carnival. I was really into. Yeah, basically a bunch of metal is what I was into. And then I found Psytrance, and I was like, oh man, this is basically like got the metal like genty sort of shit going on with the dugga 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 dugga, but it's just so much tighter and cleaner. And I was like, this is where it's at. Yeah, Cog. I was actually really into Cog too. I'm surprised somebody knows them. That's cool. And Carnival as well is sick. Yep, Carnival and Cog are insanely good.
why not electric bluegrass?
Man,
Electronic
I don't know,
bluegrass. Yeah, I mean,
I don't even know what that is for starters, but it doesn't sound like something I would like.
I'm like imagining it right now. I'm like imagining like bluegrass songs that I know,
Like, what is bluegrass even?
like Appalachian music. I mean, it's really, really skillful. It's like probably the best
I'm gonna look
country.
it up right now.
It's-
Appalachian bluegrass.
Yeah, like
Just gonna type in bluegrass.
Eastern Kentucky, West Virginia, parts of Tennessee, North Carolina. Like there's that sort of coal mining region. It's middle of nowhere region, but it's bluegrass is like
Okay, so it's like someone cranking on a fiddle and someone going like duka 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 on the drums.
yeah. And there's a lot of virtuosity. There's a lot of solos. There's a lot of Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny because I feel like bluegrass in a weird way changed a direction of my career. In Atlanta, out of all places, I was on this tour where I was DJing. I was just sort of like the DJ, but I was like touring with two guys who were from Florida who weren't like, I guess they just weren't as popular as I was. So I was like headlining, DJing, and I was just kind of doing it like, oh, here's some money, and I get to continue to exist as a musician for another month. And I was in Atlanta, and it was like a rave type warehouse type of party thing that I was DJing at, and I don't think I slept the night before, and I was really tired, and I went over to this little bar that was like across the street, and there's this band called Blue Highway, and I think now they're a little bit bigger, but it was this band called Blue Highway playing, and the musicianship was just next level. Like I was just watching and getting such a dopamine rush from watching it, and I was just like, what am I doing? Like why am I DJing? Like what the fuck? Like and that's kind of like why I almost entirely, why I bring, probably what changed me to bring so much gear on stage when I perform and stuff is like, I don't know, like that just made me be like, well, if I'm gonna do this, I gotta do it. Like I can't.
I've always had a really hard time trying to bridge the gap between quote unquote live performance and electronic music. And I asked Effect and Mushroom the other day how they do it, because I feel like their live show is pretty dialed and they get to improvise a fair bit and all that kind of stuff. And they said what they do is they either just play over the track directly, or sometimes they'll remove a couple of layers from tracks. Like they'll always remove the vocals that Duvdev is going to sing.
Yeah.
And then every now and then they might remove a chord progression or a melody or something, and then they'll replace it. But they never replace the drums. The drummer just plays over the top of the drums, but they mute his kick drum so you can't hear it.
Huh.
Because you obviously want the tight kick from the music. But yeah, I don't know. I had a big period during like 2015 to 2017 where I tried to figure all this out, and I had a drummer and a synced visual show and all this stuff. And it was so expensive and so hard, and the result, at least from like the crowd enjoyance perspective, was not really that much. It wasn't like equivalent to the amount of how much harder it was to do.
Yeah, I mean I had the similar situation with visuals too. Like I did one tour where I designed this cube that had like a scrim in front of me, so it'd be like a layer in front and then a layer behind, and it had a bunch of projectors. I had to wear fucking welding goggles inside the thing because it would like otherwise give me a migraine.
Was it the hard Scrabble tour thing?
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, I think I called it Tree Field, and it like, yeah, it was awesome, but I lost so much money on that tour, like, because I had to hire 2 people to help, and you know, I think I put probably well over 10 grand into like making the thing, and then months to test it and make all the graphics audio reactive, and I mean, it was a pain. But
where is this streaming, by the way? Is this just streaming to your Patreon?
to my YouTube or to my streaming channel on YouTube, and then apparently it's streaming to Twitter.
What's your streaming channel on YouTube?
It is, I'll send you it in the chat here, youtube.com/@alphabasic.
All right, it's like a second channel.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I guess it's not streaming to Twitter. Oh, it is streaming to Twitter. What the fuck? That is so funny. It's literally streaming on Twitter with 0 viewers.
Why do you have a second channel for the streaming instead of just doing it all on the one channel?
So I guess like what started happening with like I would release a video and then I would do a weekly stream, and I would make a video that I would put a ton of time into, and it would be pretty, it would be almost like a documentary type format, and then it would just dump people into this stream where I'm just swearing and drinking whiskey and playing with the plug-in or something like that. And then I also noticed that I was getting some like weird performance hits from the streams on the same channel. And this is all like when YouTube Shorts started becoming a thing. And then at the same time, my streams were getting like, I don't know, like 200, 250 people at once watching. And then they would have, like probably 5 figures later on in how many people watched it. And so then I was just getting like a lot of companies asking, if I could check out their plugin on a stream, which is cool. And that was kind of like one of the original intents. But then they'd be like offering money, and then all of the developers a lot of the developers or the reps from the company would be in the chat arguing with people. And I was just like, let's just separate this from the channel, do it, and that way it's a smaller audience. And if people want to like search for it and find it, they totally can. But the overall point was, for it to be a Patreon thing, and to be more of like an extension of that community.
Did I ever try FL? Yeah, the answer is yeah. I used it for about a week straight during quarantine, and I finished a tune using FL, but I didn't ever feel like I really got enough of I didn't really get my head around it enough to want to do a video on it. Like Ben did a video on like Ableton versus FL. I was also going to do a video on FL versus Ableton, and I just didn't feel like I could make a decision, because if I was like, oh, Ableton has this but FL doesn't have this, and Ableton has this that FL doesn't have, like I probably would have just been speaking out of my ass. Like FL probably did have those things, but I just didn't find them. Or there's probably just a different way that you do it in FL because it works so different to other DAWs. So I don't know. I just never really felt comfortable doing a video on it because I didn't feel like I was informed enough.
Yeah, any sort of like comparing one to the other is just not people want a binary answer because most of the people who watch those videos are, you know, they're in between one or the other to start music production, and it's like I don't know. I kind of
Yeah, it's hard to pick a favorite. I think your video was good though. It was basically just like I can't pick a favorite. They're both amazing, and whichever one that you want to use, just use it. Whichever one is efficient for you, I think, and whichever one inspires you.
yeah. Yeah, in a lot of ways, I would say that like if somebody's making music on a laptop, I feel like Ableton or Bitwig would probably be preferable to FL Studio just because. Well, I don't know, but then again, on streams, I've been using FL Studio in just one area where people could see everything, and it's
Right.
not that bad. But yeah.
There's the FL track I made. I just posted it in the private chat if you want to play a bit of it for people.
I wonder if it would be.
What do I think of intentional distortion or soft clipping the master? I don't even master my shit anymore. I just put a clipper on the master and mix into it. So I'm all about that. You really missed the playlist from FL. Huh. I don't see. I don't even know what that is. I probably used it, but I don't know what part of FL you're talking about.
Yeah, it's sort of like where you could put all your clips, kind of. I mean, I guess like Ableton kind of has one as well. I would present can I present an audio file? I think it might sound like poor if I do it this way. I swear I've tried it before, and for sim selections for the songwriting thing, but I will try it. Oh, I could add it as background music. This will be funny. All right. Well, let's see if that works. It's processing. That can't be good.
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing, though, is that what you made in Ableton sounded exactly like one of your tunes, and what I made in FL sounded pretty much exactly like one of my tunes. So it's like,
yeah,
at the end of the day, it doesn't matter which DAW you use, you're still going to make music that sounds like you. Yeah, all right, it's playing now. I can hear it.
Cool. Nice.
Yeah, so that was my FL result after using FL for about a week. the drop rate, I'm gonna give it like a solid 4, because it's not really a dubstep tune. What do I think of Vortex? I think they're fucking awesome.
Yeah, I love Oettinger. Uh, yeah. And I loved Oettinger for a long time, and then I talked to Sean Booth a bit, and he's like super super nice and humble, and I always kind of thought that like meeting them would be they'd be kind of like just because their music's like kind of artsy, but no, they're super nice.
Are they British?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of, I feel like a lot of that like sick IDM stuff like that is all from around that region of the world, like Scotland or Britain.
Well, it was like at that time, it was kind of gate kept as a British thing. Like I remember in probably I think 1998 or something, 1999. There was the two IDM artists. Well, there's three I think at the time that on MP3.com, which was kind of like the Bandcamp of that era. And there were three that were American, and it would be like me, Venetian Snares, and this guy Renegade Android,
Mm.
and we all talked because like what else could you have in common other than that? And then everybody else like Square Pusher, Aphex Twin, Autiker, they were all kind of in the same little label group, and they were kind of weren't that nice to Americans. Like
Oh, really?
yeah, they just thought that like Americans are biting the style, which I thought was kind of uh, I was I mean at the time I don't think I was as testy about it as I am now, and I think now most people would admit some form of humility to that. But like electronic music was kind of bit from Detroit and Miami and Chicago, and growing up in like South Chicago, and then hearing all of like the acid stuff coming through Warp and Reflex, and I was just kind of like, and I'm biting you, like what? Like it's kind of like,
But like, how did you get into making that IDM stuff in the first place? Did you get there sort of your own devices, or did you get there through being influenced and enjoying the music of people like Aphex and Square Pusher and stuff like that?
so the first Aphex that I heard was Select Ambient Works Volume 2, which is definitely not like uh, IDM. And then even I Care Because You Do. I feel like that's like most people wouldn't consider that IDM if they just heard it. Uh,
It's
and
more just like ambient music or something, right?
kind of, yeah. And I Care Because You Do is like there's some abrasive stuff, but it's definitely like very analog-y. It's not like what you would consider when you think of like breakcore, or not breakcore, but that sort of like glitchy fast stuff. But yeah, so I was aware of that, and then, but I think in like 1995 or 1996, I had a DR660 drum machine, and that allowed like everything to be, you could kind of like set mute groups really nicely, and you could turn off quantization, but it's still at a step recorder. So you could make like crazy glitch sounds on it. And my sort of drumming, I guess, what I thought of when I thought of drumming, I would think of like Buddy Rich and Max Roach and like all these jazz drummers. And so that would be what I was trying to program on these. And you do it through that weird turning off quantization effect when step programming. And so it was kind of like, I'm going to make drum solos and drum beats that are even crazier than Buddy Rich, and this is what I'm going to do with this piece of gear that I have. And it was interesting because it kind of like now or later on I realized like on the other side of things, everybody was looping drum patterns, whereas I was like, no, we can't loop. It has to be like this linear beginning to end thing where everything has to constantly change. You can't have the same thing happening twice. That's like against the rules for some reason. And then I got introduced to like Aphex and then eventually Square Pusher, and I was like, oh wow, okay, so this is already a thing. Like this is like,
Oh, true. So you did get there through basically your own like non-electronic music influences.
yeah. Well, like the first time I met Tom Square Pusher, like we both just had this like sort of jazz interest growing up, and we both sort of were using these like Roland or Boss drum machines and kind of on that same thing. But I think that like once I heard their music, it kind of locked in and probably pushed me into that direction even more, I would say. But
Mm.
like it probably would have been a short phase or something until, but then I realized that like other people were doing it and it kind of made me feel less stupid for making this really weird music that at the time, you know, so like a funny thing that like I feel like most people don't even believe me when I tell them this, but the first shows that I played, I think they're in 1995 or 1996. Like electronic music was huge at the time. It was like a vibrant scene, but it was all based around DJing. So like if there wasn't a DJ, then it didn't count as electronic music and nobody would dance and nobody wanted to be there and it wasn't cool. And so I used to set up like a TB303, the DR660, a JX, I think I had a JX305 back then. I set up these like sequencers and stuff behind a table that had fucking turntables on it to pretend I would have this like ridiculous analog setup and then, or not analog, but some of it was, but I would have this ridiculous setup for live PA, and people thought that I was just like hiding behind where I was DJing the records, and that was like the only way it could be acceptable, which is like so
Wild.
goofy, right?
Yeah, I think genres, like quite often they get invented elsewhere, but I think they get perfected in America because there's a higher reward here for doing music
Mm.
well, I think.
Yeah.
Like the cap for being extremely good at dubstep here is way higher for the reward of being good at it in the UK or being good at it in like Austria or something like that. It's like here you can play shows every week and make shitloads of money if you're good at it. Whereas in other countries, like for instance, like the UK, like Culprit barely ever plays shows, Scope barely ever plays shows, and they're like some of the best producers of dubstep in the world, I would say.
Hmm.
And people over here are like definitely wanting them to come here and play a lot of shows and stuff in it. But so someone's asking what does perfected mean? It just gets refined here, like it starts as a general vibe somewhere else, and I think here it gets like refined down to basically a perfect science and formula.
Yeah, I guess like perfected as a genre that's recognizable is probably a better way of putting it. Like,
Right, like yeah.
yeah, I could agree with that. Well, it's almost like once it jumps continent, that's when that happens. And so like when you think of acid house, for example, when you actually play some like old Chicago acid house, a lot of it doesn't. I mean, yeah, like more than half doesn't have a TB303, but like somehow you can't have acid without a TB303 when we look back at it now. And I think that's because that's how Europe interpreted it, like through trance and everything. They're like, no, you have to have this 303 thing, and that's when the prices of them skyrocketed and they stopped being pieces of junk. But another thing that happens maybe more often than we'd like to admit is when it jumps continent, it also it also gets appropriated because
Yeah,
like
totally.
yeah, acid house and techno, those are all black things, and then they got appropriated into white things in Europe, and then sort of reappropriate, and then white people kind of, I guess, as you would say, like perfected it here, and then dubstep too. That was like that came out of grime, right? And so, yeah, that I don't know as much about the history, but I know a lot of it is like has Caribbean influence and stuff. In like
Totally. A
Brixton
lot of
and,
it definitely comes from Jamaican music and stuff. Someone's asking, is it more perfect when it's less original? And I don't think it's less original. I think just because you know exactly what you're doing and there's a formula to it, I don't think it makes it less original. I think it just makes you more informed on how to do things within those bounds and exactly like where you can break all the rules. I think knowing exactly how something works makes it possible to make it more original than if you don't know how it works and just are making whatever, which can sometimes be like genre defying. It can go between different genres, which is also fine, but then it's not dubstep anymore,
yeah,
or it's not whatever else anymore.
and you pay a toll for that. Like
Exactly, yeah.
that's like the fucking story of my life, I guess, is like not perfectly fitting into a genre, and so therefore
Exactly, it's hard to sell.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's
like
exactly why I think these things happen in America, because it's like there's a huge audience in which to sell these things to here, whereas not so much in other countries, I've noticed, at least for the type of bass music and stuff that I make.
It's funny. I feel like a lot of the, I I used to, it was just almost like an unwritten joke about dubstep when it first came here because it was so big and it was so massive. And my music could not be anything further from it at the time. And I would go on tour, and then every now and then I would be like opening for a dubstep DJ that nobody had ever heard of before. And the only reason that this DJ was like in the headline slot was because he was a dubstep DJ, and he would play some dubstep, and then that would sort of be the end of it. And then you'd never hear that name again. And I remember one like one of my favorite examples of this. So it's Detroit. I don't know what year it is. Probably like 2010 maybe, and we're in Detroit, and it's on this massive Detroit Electronic Music Festival after party. It's me, Telephone Tel Aviv, yeah, so 2009 probably. Me, Telephone Tel Aviv, Richard Devine. I mean, there were Bartel. There were so many people at this. Jimmy Edgar, Machine Drum. I know there was another name that's like rare. Phoenicia, if you remember them, Josh and Ram. And so, like and so you had this massive lineup that now looking at this lineup would like, be a major festival lineup easily, especially for that type of music. And we were all opening for RoboCop, who's a Dutch dubstep DJ. Who nobody had heard of. And we were all like, who is RoboCop? And RoboCop's flight was delayed, and RoboCop couldn't show up. And the night was fun anyway. But, like, you can't even Google the guy. Like, he was just a dubstep DJ named RoboCop. And they're like, okay, well, he's the headliner. And everybody else is like, what the fuck? And, but everybody's just all night, RoboCop. Is RoboCop coming? When's RoboCop? And I'm like, who is RoboCop? Well, I've never heard of this person. Why is he booked here? But yeah, it was so fun.
I think electronic music has changed a lot in that way. Like I remember back in the day, the DJ that would be headlining would be like just the one that was from overseas or like the oldest one or something like that.
Yeah.
Whereas these days, like none of that shit matters. The only thing that matters is how many tickets that you can sell. Like if we put you on a flyer and we put you in our venue, how many people are going to pay money either through online or at the door to come and see you? And they can only tell that based on the last time you played there, pretty much. So the first time you play anywhere, even if you've got 1 million plays on Spotify in that area, you're still going to get like $1,000. And if you might have like some back end deal or something that where if you sell X amount of tickets, you get a bit of extra money. Yeah. And usually when you take those back end deals, it's when you think that you've got a lot of draw in that market and you're choosing to take a gamble on it because you're confident that you'll make more than you would have if you took their guarantee. And yeah, I mean, that's basically all it comes down to these days is the person who headlines is the person who can sell the most tickets.
It's interesting because like what was the last place we played together?
Have we ever played together?
Yeah, we did in Minnesota, Wisconsin.
Oh, infrasound.
Yeah. Okay. So one of the infrasounds.
Well, that's different. That's a festival.
Yeah. So one of the infrasounds that we played, it wasn't the one we played. It was the one a few years before that. It was pre-COVID, and I remember looking at the flyer and just thinking to myself, like asking the promoter, I was like, I just don't understand the flyer. And it's not like if I'm at the bottom of a flyer somewhere small, and I was being paid like very well to play the show, but I was like, if I'm somewhere at the bottom of the flyer small, that's fine for me. That makes me feel like if something happens and I don't want to play the show or the show gets canceled, that's like less weight on me. Like I don't feel as bad. So I'm not arguing to be higher on the flyer, but there are people up in the second row and that up higher in the flyer who have 500 Spotify followers who, literally just have like a Facebook page with the DJ mix. And, I know I'm selling more tickets than they are. I would have to be, right? And
well, what was your play history in Minnesota or in Wisconsin at that time? Like when was the last time you played there and how many tickets did you sell?
It's funny because I wrote a blog post about this, trying to figure it out, like trying to figure out what the metric is that these festivals were using. And it turned out that it was Facebook likes.
Mm.
And so this person had just bought 100,000 Facebook likes on his artist page, and so therefore
Oh wow.
it was like, really, you didn't even like look a little further than that, considering the amount of money that's going into this.
So what Infrasound did this year, and I think they're probably going to do every year going forward, is they make everyone's name the exact same size and they just put
Yeah.
them in alphabetical order. Because the amount of hours that go into arguing with artists, managers, and artists and promoters and other agents and all this shit about whose name needs to be 2 pixels bigger in the top row or
And
something
I
like
don't
that.
understand it. It's like, why do you want to be the
It's a
top one?
it's a psychology thing. It's
Yeah.
like if I get put like at the top of a flyer and then below me is like all these artists who are pretty big, then all of a sudden in people's minds like that I'm huge, you know.
There's a
So-
festival that is happening this year, and they've asked me if I wanted to DJ because it's like they're just not they want to add more to their lineup, and I can tell you I don't want to say it in them publicly, and I don't think I'm going to be able to do it. But like part of the agreement is like I'm not on the flyer. Like don't put me on the flyer. Like you could make
Wait,
a rumor.
That's a part of an agreement on your end or their
Yeah,
end?
like I don't want to be on the flyer. Like I
Oh,
don't
okay.
like don't promote it on the flyer. You could say it as a rumor, you could say it in there, but like I don't want it on the big thing because then people think that I'm playing live. I'm gonna
But
go to
that
the bathroom.
also, yeah, no worries. I'm
I'll be
gonna
right
grab I'll grab a drink too. I'll come right back to
Okay.
it. Yep.
I'll just leave a random.
All right, I'm back. It is nice weather today, actually. It's pretty. It was raining before. Now it's like it's almost 8:30 p.m. and it's actually sun shining still. It's kind of crazy. Tinnitus. I can hear the tinnitus in here if I shut my door. Actually, I have cables down here that like run through the wall, and I have my computer in the other room and stuff, and it's really quiet in here. It definitely brings out the tinnitus. Well, technically Ben didn't have to get something. He had to drop something off.
All right.
Yeah, so in regards to like a festival and you being like, I don't want my name to go on the flyer at all,
Yeah.
that probably reduces the value for them, you know. So if
Sure.
you might get like $4,000 or something for having your name put on the flyer, if you're like, no, I'm not going to put my name on the flyer, well, they're like, well, we still want you to play because it'll make the festival cooler and we like your music and we want to see it. But that would really only be like worth now 1,000 to them or something, you know, instead.
I think to them it would be like more of a surprise anyway. Like I don't like, oh, and look, you know. But again, I'm not like dying to play it either. It would actually be nearly impossible with my schedule and stuff to actually work that out. Unless
Yeah,
I
totally.
flew, you know, I could just fly there for a day. But no, I can't do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm doing a show this weekend in Columbus. And
Yeah.
I fly out on Saturday at 5 p.m. and I'll be back the next day at 3 p.m.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's,
it's pretty chill. Definitely DJing is the way to go. Because, like, I basically, like, thought about this heavily after I did all that live shit in 2016. I was like, what do I actually even want out of life? Like, I started, like, questioning my existence and shit. And I was like, honestly, I just like making tunes and that's it. Like, I'll play them to people if people want to hear them. But I'm not going to go to this, like, huge extent of, like, making some big live thing. I can't be bothered with all that shit. But I really like producing music. So I wanted to figure out a way where I could still do shows and have that be incorporated into my want and need of writing music. So now I just write music, and then literally the day before the show, I figure out which tracks I'm going to play, build them into a set, and then fly in. I take the last flight I possibly can to the place, and I take pretty much the first flight I possibly can home. So I'm usually out of the studio for not long at all.
no, I've essentially retired from playing live shows. I mean, I've probably played over 1,000 in my life, but No, maybe not 1,000. I don't know. That's hard to. It's a hard. It
1,000 is
seems
a
like
lot, yeah.
yeah, probably like at least 500
Well, when did you start playing shows?
in like 97, 96, 97,
And
and
like on
then
average, how many shows would you say you played per year?
it depends. Like when I was on tour with like Dillinger Escape Plan or something like that, it was like every day for months, right? And then other times,
But like on
y-
average, probably what, like 30 shows a year or something?
yeah, it would be hard to average it out because there were years where like it would probably be 100 over 100, and then
Even if it was 30, yeah, that's still 600 shows.
yeah,
I think
okay,
I probably average somewhere in like the 30 a year range. I think any more than that is way too much. Like 50 a year every single weekend, it's too much.
yeah, and then beyond that, the last couple of years, it would be like it dwindled down as I just like got more more or less frustrated with the I don't know. It just I wasn't doing what I wanted to do. It felt like it was just so many compromises. Whereas I feel like the show that I want to play is the one that like the people who listen to my music want to see, which is basically like a bunch of instruments and me playing them and
Mm.
improvising. Like that's what I want to do. I want to create and I want to like be the most performative that I can be, but that doesn't fit into the festival thing very well. However, festivals are
It
the only.
does probably, but just not on the main stage. Like it's probably
Yeah.
like a chill nighttime like or morning set, like a sunrise thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone's asking what am I teaching in my personal training that I didn't learn well in the producer dojo. For starters, I've never gone to the producer dojo. That's something that El Gates started. That's basically his equivalent of MrBillsTunes.com. And my teaching, like the one that I just put out, the Art of Mr. Bill Season 5, is basically a 35-hour tutorial series of me making a track from start to finish and showing you like my whole process and all the tricks that I use along the way and all of that stuff. Someone's asking also, why do you find DJing/performing less rewarding than making music? Dude, I don't know. The buzz that I get from DJing and like seeing everyone go nuts and jumping is amazing. I fucking like love that. But I get way more of a consistent buzz from making music. Like that moment where you like figure out how to just make the beat work and all of a sudden it's gelling and sounding really sick and you're like, yeah, fuck yeah. Like that dopamine rush is just unbeatable in my opinion.
And again, it was like if my show could be, some loop pedals in this setup and like a seated, quiet place. Yeah, it doesn't even have to be a lot of people. That I would enjoy that probably, close to as much as producing music. But it's just the sort of, yeah, the wind up that goes into it, and I guess you have to like keep the. I think like what I'm probably more trying to get to is like I really wish that I could just show up in a city and like read the audience and then have my current mood and both of those things and communicate to them musically as much as I could. Like I feel like that would be great. And I was looking at like last year I was looking at playing in London this year in a venue that I think it seated thousands of people. Like it seated like 4,000 or something. It was a pretty big venue. Um, and London's like the one place where if I look at my Spotify metrics and YouTube and everything else, like I think it is the number one place with the most consolidated flashbulb fans.
Hmm.
And so it seems likely that I would be able to, you know, at least, sell a lot of tickets to the show, if not sell it out. And I talked to the venue and I was like, I don't want any upfront money. I don't want to do it that way. I want to fund it myself because even if I could rent the space, that would be ideal because I'll make more money that way because I have faith that, this would be a significant show. But they just had a contract where all ticket sales had to go through a third party company that took some like 20% or 25% or something. And I was like, fuck that. Like, on precedent, I can't give them that much money. Like, that's, the show should ideally make a ton of money. And
Do you know about the merch sale thing that happens in every venue? Like
that's
if I sell merch
yeah,
in a venue and I make like $1,000 of merch sales, I have to give the venue 20%.
yeah, yeah.
Or it's between 15 and 20.
Yeah.
Even if it's somewhere like Red Rocks, even if it's a festival, it doesn't matter. If you sell merch at a show, the venue takes quite a large percentage of that.
I've Usually they supply the merch people, right? When they're doing like they have
Even if you supply your own, they still take
yeah.
a large percentage. If they supply the merch person, they still take that same percentage, but then they'll be there at the merch table for 4 hours, so it's this much per hour to have them there for that time.
So that the first time I witnessed that was in New York in like 2006 or something. Like that was the first time. It was in Manhattan. It was at a show at a place called Rothko, and I remember just being floored by it. And I was like, "We're not selling merch." Like, even though like I was just like, "I'm not doing this," and it was like 50% or something. It was a crazy cut. Um, and yeah, every time it's come up, I've been able to negotiate my way out of it. Uh, and a lot of venues are like, no, that's the policy. And I was like, okay, well, this is my policy. And sort of, as long as I have my own merch person and as long as I have, sometimes you even have to like rent a table or something so they can't even, they're giving you nothing. In Phoenix, I played a show where the like weird thing was my merch person had to be outside of the venue room that I was playing in, which actually worked out really well because she was like right outside the front door. No,
Right.
it was still indoors, but like it was like where everybody was coming and going anyway, and so it was kind of like, and then I just got on the microphone and I was like, "That's where the merch person is. Meet me there after the show if you want to meet me." And then you get everybody to sort of hang out there and feel obligated to buy something. But yeah,
Someone's asking if I know this breakcore label. I just looked them up on Discogs and they look cool, but no, I've never really heard of them before. Apparently they're from Newcastle. I don't know any of these artists, but I'll check it out.
Are you do you ever like miss Australia? Do you ever consider going back? Are you full-blooded American now? Are you?
I'm full-blooded American now. I definitely have gone back to Australia a few times. I haven't in a while at this point because of COVID and all this stuff. But every time I go back there, I feel out of place now. Like I don't have a proper place to stay there that I can call my own.
Yeah.
My friends seem like kind of estranged from me a little bit there now. Some of them not, but most of them are. And yeah, I don't know. It doesn't feel like home anymore. Like this place feels like home now.
Yeah, I really want to visit. I'm strangely like fascinated with it just because I don't know. It just seems like it I guess when you get over 40, you start thinking about like healthcare and all that shit. Like it might be better. Like when you
Yeah.
look at I think I'm always like seeing weird stats from Australia that just sound really good. Like, if you get diagnosed with cancer, how long it takes for you to get the treatment. And it's actually like much lower of a time than it takes even in like a capitalist healthcare system like the one we have. And,
Yeah,
things like
well,
that.
I'm going at the end of the year if you want to come. I think I'm
Yeah.
going to go in like maybe December or something.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'm going to go for, I think I'm going to go for like 2 weeks, maybe 3. But
I kind
don't
of
wanna
want to
go
try
for
and
too long.
drive across the south coast to,
From like Melbourne to Perth, something
yeah.
like that. That'd be cool. Western Australia is crazy for sure.
Yeah.
It's
it's
Perth is the most isolated major city in the world. Like,
really?
yeah, the next closest city to Perth is actually South Africa, Cape Town, I think.
Whoa.
It's
okay.
closer than like Adelaide or Melbourne or Sydney.
Huh. That's great. Yeah, and Perth is like it's a bunch of miners, isn't it? No,
Yeah,
not
basically.
children, but like like miner families.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Like, so if you consider like Australia is basically the same size as the US geographically, maybe a little smaller or maybe a little bigger. I'm not sure.
It's a little bit smaller. Yeah.
Yeah, a tiny bit smaller. So basically, from Sydney to Perth is like the equivalent of like LA to here, pretty much.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's it's a 5-hour flight. So I assume it's about the same as that. And yeah, I guess the closest city to that is South Africa somewhere. I'll check that out. That might be a lie.
Yeah, I feel like that's from.
Someone just told me this, and I just have never updated the information in my head.
Like, yeah, I feel like that's South Africa's still, but I don't know. Maybe the curvature of the Earth or something.
Oh no, there's no way.
Yeah,
South
no
Africa's-
way. Yeah, fuck no.
Yeah, that person was lying. But definitely, I think Sydney, like Jakarta, might be about equidistant in Indonesia. It looks
Yeah.
like Singapore is like not that far as well. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
If you're like in Perth or even like northern Australia, like Darwin or something, you're like really not that far at all from Vietnam and India and all that.
And Papua New Guinea, of course,
Yeah, yeah.
which is like the weirdest country.
Is it?
I mean, just it's just fucking. There's still like tribesmen and stuff. It's pretty crazy seeming. Like it's intimidating to me. Like I've been like, I just like, would I want to travel there? Or is that too fucking crazy? Like I think it's too fucking crazy for me.
Why?
Um,
Why do you think it's too crazy?
like it just seems so wild.
Oh wow,
Like
it's one of the most linguistically diverse countries in the world. There's 839 languages there. That's like
they
India, man. India's got so many languages.
they still have like cannibalism there and
Wait,
stuff.
really?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Apparently, I was reading a thing about the origins of prion diseases, and apparently a lot of prion diseases are still prevalent in Papua New Guinea because people eat each other's dead and stuff. Like if somebody
Huh.
dies, they like eat part of the flesh as part of the tribal. Yeah, but
Oh
what do
no,
I know?
somebody said the Perth's location has earned it the moniker of the most isolated big city in the world. So it is true, but
Yeah,
the closest city is Adelaide, not South Africa. So that part was a lie. Yeah, so yeah, Adelaide is the next closest big city, which is 1,300 miles away. Yeah, it's a while away. 2,100 kilometers. That's the equivalent of like what Atlanta to um, what's like 1,300 miles from Atlanta is like probably like Denver or something maybe.
yeah, maybe. Yeah, I'm like looking at a. Let's see, 500 miles. Is that big? Ah, it could be. Could be like California. You think I'd know this considering how many times I've driven? But
Yeah, Atlanta to Denver is 1,400. So just before
yeah.
that. So like I don't know, Colorado Springs or something.
Hmm.
Or
Crazy.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's like a 2-day drive.
Wichita is, dude, for a while I was like, I'm going to buy a house in Wichita
Ugh.
because it's the cheapest place to buy a house in the US. And this was like a few years ago before I started making money
Yeah.
or before I started making like decent money. And yeah, you can buy the cheapest places there, like a pretty big house for like 100 grand or something like that. But apparently it's like one of the largest like meth capitals as well.
I think it's just I don't know. I mean, I've been there before, like just passing through it, and it just seemed very boring and flat, and sort of
Mm.
didn't seem to have any sort of. I don't know. Like I remember one time I had a show in Fargo, North Dakota, and weirdly, like my friend and I, we were just like, it was in May or something, and we were like, let's go for like a few days, like let's go for like 3 or 4 days. And apparently they had like a lot of golf courses around, and I was like, well, yeah, we could just like go golfing, like that'd be fun to just like golf every day and just hang out in the sun, and whatever. And so we went up there, and it was fucking freezing and snowing in like early May, and we're just like, okay, whatever. And so we were kind of just like stuck indoors, and we went to they had one music store at the time, and we went there like every day for like an hour, and we like played board games in the hotel. I think one time we turned the shower on and the heat all the way up in the hotel just to make it like tropical feeling. Like we were that fucking bored. And at the end of it, we were like trying to figure out how much of a salary we would need to move to Fargo. Like if Microsoft was like, "We'll pay you 500,000 a year," and we're like, "Nah, I don't think that would be worth it, honestly." I think like the
Yeah.
the psychological distress of living there for that long would actually be not worth it. But
Yeah, I feel like basically about the place that I would live if I went back to Australia, like where my family is and shit. I feel that way about that place. It's so fucking boring,
where is
and
it?
it's in it's basically near Harvey Bay, but it's like 30 minutes away from Harvey Bay.
Okay.
Harvey Bay's spelled like Hervey. That place is really nice, Harvey Bay, but it's like 30 minutes away from there in like some just the suburbs of Harvey Bay. So Harvey Bay is already like a small kind of boring place with one pub and stuff, and
Yeah.
it's like 30 minutes away from that. Someone saying they're tuning in from Sydney, moved there 8 years ago from Philly. I'm curious what they think.
Oh, okay.
Sydney is awesome. I like Sydney a lot. If you actually live in Sydney, it's great. But Sydney means a lot of different things, you know. You
Yeah.
can live in like Newtown, which is completely different to, I don't know, like Ultimo or something, or completely different to Parramatta, or completely different to, you know, Bankstown or Liverpool.
Hmm.
So it really depends what you're talking about in Sydney, and I'm curious as to whether or not you enjoy it. I lived in Windsor when I was there, and at the time when I moved here, my family was in Windsor, and I didn't really like that place much either. Other in Redfern. Actually, that's where I went to SAE, right there in Redfern. It was actually Surrey Hills, but pretty close.
Hmm. Okay, yeah. So you're reasonably up north.
Yeah, so I'll probably go there at the end of the year for like, I don't know, a week or something. Then I'll probably stay in Sydney for a week, try and do a show. Then I might try and do a show in like Brisbane or Melbourne or something. And then, yeah, I'm not really trying to push the shows there too hard. I might do like one or two, but mostly just going to go there to see my family because I feel guilty that I haven't seen my mum in like 4 years.
Sure. Do you like Tasmania?
I've been there twice, and yeah, I did like it. The air there is really fresh. Like
Yeah.
when you get there, you can really tell.
Yeah. It seems like it. It seems like it's a fun place to go. Yeah, that was kind of when I was, I don't know, just sort of thinking like that seems like a fun place to live. Like,
Someone's asking what the most remote is I've been for a show.
ooh,
Probably
good
like
question.
yeah, it probably would be somewhere in America actually.
Yeah, same.
Let's see. I mean, I did a show recently in Columbus, Nebraska, which is
Is that a
basically
college?
Columbus is right near Nebraska. It's right between Nebraska and Omaha, so kind of in the middle
Oh
of.
yeah, I see. Okay.
Yeah. So I did a
There must be a
show.
university there or something, huh?
There was nothing there basically. I was there
Yeah. What the fuck?
like maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Wow.
Um,
Yeah, yeah. Because I
where
was calling
else?
your. I looked at your shows and I was like, oh, it's a corn tour.
Yeah, I did that weekend. I did Columbus, Nebraska, and what else? It was like
Somewhere in
somewhere
Iowa, right? Des Moines
no,
or
it was
something.
somewhere in Montana.
Missoula,
No, it wasn't Missoula. It was the other one, not
Billings.
Billings.
Yeah.
No, the other one, Bozeman.
Uh,
That's the one,
Bozeman. Yeah,
Bozeman.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, because like everywhere in America is not far from a major city, is it? So it might actually be somewhere in Australia. That was my most remote.
I mean, Bozeman's pretty far from a major city,
It's
right?
not that far from Missoula. Well,
Missoula's not a major city.
it's okay. Well, then yeah, that might be
Yeah. Like
the.
I would say that the closest major city would be like Salt Lake City or Spokane.
Oh, okay, then yeah, that's
Yeah.
pretty. Yeah, I guess it depends on your. Dude, did they go hard in Montana? They actually did.
Yeah,
That was
Montana's
like,
fun.
yeah, Bozeman was like probably one of the funnest shows that I played this year. Bozeman and Seattle have been the two best this year, surprisingly.
Uh, yeah, I feel like
Let's see.
I played rural Washington. Yeah, I guess it's just like to think of like what the most remote is, like the most remote to where you get to a store, or the most remote from like a major city. Because like,
It also never feels remote because once you're at the festival, they have food vendors, they have like usually some sort of accommodation or like, and there's a lot of people there. So
but
is it remote then? Like once you're at the festival and there's a lot of people there,
yeah,
it's not remote anymore. Like Black Rock City, when Burning Man comes up, becomes
God, yeah,
becomes the second
yeah,
biggest city in Reno, Nevada. It becomes
yeah,
like one of the biggest cities in Nevada during the week that it happens. They have
yeah.
like a city there. Sorry, an airport there. They have a post office there. Like it becomes a full functioning city.
Yeah, it's funny because I played. Well, it's not funny. I played a show in Washington in like 2008, I think, and it was on a mountain. It was in Cle Elum, Washington. It was on a mountain, and like to get from the hotel, which was just like a tiny town hotel, to the actual festival took like 2.5 hours, and it was because it was like a dirt mountain road that was really sketchy. And I remember seeing like a car that had like fallen off, and I don't think anybody died. It just sort of like fell into a bunch of trees and twigs and stuff. But I remember thinking on my way up, I was like, man, if something happened, like, would they have to like airlift you? Like, I don't know how an ambulance would get up here. And sure enough, while I was performing, somebody OD'd and died because they couldn't get him any help. And
Oh
there's like,
shit.
yeah, it was kind of, and that weirdly was sort of like the beginning of me performing less because then I started not playing illegal places, like only places that were like sanctioned legally to have a festival or to have a party in or something like that. Um,
Mm.
because I was just like, okay, well, that could
Yeah,
have
you
been
don't want
like,
someone dying when you're playing music. That's not a good vibe.
yeah. Well, also it's like you play so many shows. Sometimes you meet people who like a 16-year-old and their parents, and you're just sort of like, if they don't know, a lot of these kids they don't know like they're not walking into a place and going like, oh, what happens if this starts burning, you know, like,
Mm.
and so you want to make sure that like they're somewhat safe. Um,
Have you ever been to Burning Man?
no,
Me either. We should go.
no, I don't want
No?
to go to Burning Man. No, no.
Why not?
I just feel like I would get so grumpy in that
Mm.
atmosphere. Here's the thing is I would love to go to Black Rock Desert. Like, I mean,
Right.
I've been through that area and it's gorgeous, but with that many assholes, I feel like I would just. And I have such a problem with like after reading about the politics of it for so long, like they were using BLM land, which is Bureau of Land Management. It's like national land that anybody can use, and they were using it, and they were destroying it. Like they were just like leaving a bunch of trash, and even though they have the policy to clean up your own trash, but nobody's doing that, and so it cost the state or the federal government something like $100,000 minimum per year to clean up and restore everything for wildlife and stuff like that. And so they said, "Hey, you're doing this on BLM land and you're charging a ticket price for somewhere where anybody can publicly freely go.
Mm.
We just want you to pay for the cleanup." And they fucking sued them. Like
Wait, Burning
like
Man sued them?
yeah, Burning Man was like, no way. Yeah, they're making millions of dollars, and like they couldn't even pay for the cleanup of their own festival, and so they bought the land next to it. They like used their millions of dollars to buy land and move it over a couple miles, so they don't actually have to take care of the land. And this is supposed to be like a green movement and stuff. And the whole I thought about doing a documentary on this, to be honest, because like
Yeah,
the
we
whole
should go
thing
and
is
do a documentary on it.
yeah, just
There's a few good videos actually on YouTube of people doing like a recap of Burning Man. There's one by this Russian dude who's gotten all of his videos converted into English now, and he makes amazing videos. He goes to these like super surreal, crazy places and does videos on them. I can't remember what his name is, but awesome YouTube. I bet. Yeah, I bet like doing a video there would be crazy. I need to go some year for sure. I want to go like some year just to check it out, but I just haven't yet. I think the same thing. I'd probably get like mad grumpy there, and I'd probably just be like, I just want to go to the studio. Fuck this. But
yeah.
to be honest, from what I've heard, you could probably just find a studio there. Like apparently, there's just everything out there. It's like everything in one place kind of deal.
I just have so much of a problem with paying that much money for a ticket to go to public land that my tax dollars pay for.
Yeah, that's kind of
Like,
bullshit. Also, the fact that they don't pay any artists.
yeah,
Like nobody gets paid a set fee there. Like the first few times I heard this, I was like, "What? No, the fucking
yeah,
way!" I'm
because
gonna
I've been
go.
offered to play shows there a bunch, and like even where they'd be like, "Well, we'll all chip in and buy your admission," and it's like, "Wow, I get a free ticket to my own show. That sounds like
Yeah,
such a
right.
good deal."
Yo,
Like,
so one year after I decided, okay, fine, I'll play if somebody like buys me tickets and stuff. This dude gave me what is basically heard of, like what is basically an unheard of deal, which was he was going to give me 3 tickets. So me, my friend Ryan,
wow,
and my other friend who was going to drive us out there could come,
yeah,
and he was going to let us camp at their campsite. Like he would have set us up a whole like tent and all of this sort of shit for the whole week, and he was going to cook all of our meals. So apparently that's like a crazy deal. So anyway, he put the tickets in the mail and tried to send them to my friend's house, and then he also put another envelope in the mail that was the car pass so we could get the car in there. And then I flew out to Sacramento to the guy's house who was going to drive me there. And I was like, all right, let's go. And he's like, well, the tickets haven't come in the mail yet. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he's like, well, the car pass came, but the tickets didn't come. And I was like, all right, well, we probably shouldn't go out there if we don't have tickets. And then I was like trying to call the dude who sent the tickets, and I was like, "Did you put them in like registered post, or like was there a tracking number or something?" He was like, "No, I just put them in an envelope and put them in the mailbox." And I was like, "You put $1,500 worth of tickets just in the mailbox in an envelope? Like they probably just got lost or stolen or something."
Right.
So anyway, I didn't end up going, but I was supposed to go that year, and I was in Sacramento, like all ready to go and everything, and I was stoked about it. And
So here's another thing that if I'm gonna go off on fucking Burning Man. Okay, so like, maybe this has changed because maybe somebody has actually brought a lawyer into the situation, but they have. So like, what can I do with my photos or footage from Burning Man? You can share them with friends, family, and campmates. You can post them on a personal website or your own personal social. Okay, so this used to not be the case. You could show them at a private party. You may also use photographs again. You cannot post event photos or footage on a commercial website, including a business's social network account or a self-promotional portfolio website, nor can you sell them or place products for sale. So this is,
I mean, they're not going to stop you from like doing a video.
but I mean, this is like, yeah, Burning Man shares copyright ownership of BRC media with the creator and only for very specific reasons. This is all not so. This is all very, very like dodgy in terms of First Amendment rights and like how photography laws work. And I believe, yeah, okay. So if you take a picture of somebody or something at Burning Man and they want to buy the picture, you have to contact Burning Man and like give them a cut, which like that's fucking insane. And all of this, so it's like, so the argument for Burning Man to begin with is like, well, we don't believe in money, and like nobody pays anybody. That's the whole thing.
Well,
It's all a
basically,
barter
only
system.
only when it works for them, basically.
Right, yeah, but like if you take a picture, no, then you'll have to pay us the US dollars to actually use it.
Yo, check out the chat I just sent you. This is that YouTuber I was telling you about. His name's Anton somewhere. And
Okay, yeah.
look at the kind of videos he does. It's so sick, man. Like I think you would like it. His cinematography is really good, and
Okay, yeah.
he did a really good recap on Burning Man. But he just goes to these like incredibly surreal places and does videos on them. He does really good videos on them. Yeah, apparently he's like a Russian guy, and I think he has been translating his videos now to English.
Yeah, that's like the thing that every YouTuber doesn't want to do is translation.
I've been contacted by a few people who wanted to translate my videos into Chinese and also Spanish, which I might do at some point. I think it's probably worth doing.
I've thought about doing Spanish.
AI is also like just around the corner for doing
Yeah.
this. So.
I thought about doing Spanish for like some of my most seen videos, and maybe doing it like that was sort of like a thing where it's like if I get once I get past 300K, then it might be worth. It might be a net positive to translate Spanish. I feel like most Chinese people. Do most Chinese people speak English? Don't enough Chinese people speak English to where that wouldn't kind of.
A lot of them do, but I think like a lot of them probably have trouble understanding it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I've definitely heard from a lot of people who have come from China to a different English-speaking country to do college and stuff that they've generally had a hard time understanding teachers and stuff like that.
Yeah, and also like Spanish is a little bit more broken up politically, whereas like in terms of just making Chinese media or Chinese text, or I guess just translating to Chinese only for China, for a country that like is currently blocking out internet in various places, and the Great Firewall. Like it's kind of like you might just get fucked after doing all the work. They might just decide that your channel isn't, or they may not whitelist your channel, because I believe it's like a whitelist thing, not a blacklist thing. So it's kind of like that could be kind of annoying to like make content for this region that's government may not even approve you or something. Whereas
Right, and with the uploads there probably go on WeChat, because I've heard that that's just everything there, like every app in one kind of.
Yeah, that's apparently what people thought Elon was trying to do with Twitter, was like turn it into a WeChat situation. But
I mean, I honestly would not mind a situation like that. It would suck to have like one company just having the monopoly on everything, but like, let's be real, one company basically has a monopoly on everything anyway at this point.
That's what YouTube's trying to do. I mean, they have like
Well, it's like
the
two companies, right? It's like basically
yeah,
Google and Meta basically
yeah,
like own most of the shit.
right.
So I don't know. I feel like if they would all just combine into like one app, so I just have to have one app installed and that's it, and I can do all the things from one app. Like I'd give up whatever you lose for that convenience probably.
Um, well, I feel like Signal would be a great like. Imagine if Signal had like, you know, if Signal kind of merged with Blue Sky and with like some other decentralized social media things. Like social media just should be decentralized anyway. Like it doesn't make sense for it to be
Mm.
centralized, unless it's video hosting or something. Uh,
I mean, someone has to have some money there to be like cleaning up the servers and making sure it's always working and all that kind of stuff. I feel
yeah,
like if you completely decentralize it, if it was big enough and provided enough value, then and it was all open source, then I'm sure programmers who used it would probably, give up some of their time to just keep it all running and fixed. But yeah, I don't know. How do you think that would work?
I mean Signal's a nonprofit, right? So it,
Yeah.
yeah, they just make money through 501c3. I mean, I feel like you run into those situations where, like, imagine if Signal expanded a little bit more on some features, which I'm sure they will, and it turned into like a Slack alternative. And now all of a sudden you have a business that's not paying for Slack, and it's tax deductible to give money to Signal. It's like that starts kind of making sense from that perspective, I suppose. Like, I don't know. But yeah, YouTube is definitely like they're trying to do the shorts thing. They have the community tab where you could like post pictures or essentially trying to be like a Twitter slash Instagram.
Yeah, but no one uses it for that. It's
Yeah,
just the video
um,
thing.
yeah, but
It's
yeah,
also wild how like Spotify just all of a sudden became so big as well. I did not believe in Spotify at all when I first saw it like come out as an app. I was like, this isn't going to take off.
oh, and like
And then now
when did I?
it's just the biggest thing now. Like everyone uses it.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's because like it's sort of the same thing as like Uber. Like it's just venture capital money subsidizing uh, the user experience. But in Spotify's case, they were able to use that venture capital money to buy the Metallica licenses and all that stuff, so people would actually use it. And then our music, on the other hand, gets like criminally undervalued, and
Mm. But
Spotify still
we
isn't
basically
profitable.
need to use it because it's where everyone is now.
Yeah, and like, but Spotify still isn't making a profit, and they're in a really bad place. Like they're yeah. I mean, I made a good the most money, and this is funny because this is like the best headline I could ever have for a video, but I just don't really. I'm kind of tired of talking about it, but like for a video at least, but like the most money I made on Spotify in 1 year was from shorting it. Like that's sort of like the beauty of it is like I made way more money shorting from Spotify than I did from like the whatever 2,000 a month or whatever that they pay me. Um, and yeah, but I mean it's just because they're not making a profit. There is no path to profitability. The paths that they're claiming are going to be profitable is like podcasting and stuff. Spotify is actually losing, like their growth has really dying in the UK, and the UK is where podcasts are the most popular, and so
Mm.
that's like a really bad sign because the U.S. economy for trends like that are usually a lagging indicator behind UK. Something happening in the UK usually lags to what's happening in the U.S., and so usually you have like that means that subscriptions will most likely die down in the US after that because it just reaches a market cap. Like at some point, everybody who is going to install Spotify has it installed, and then you can't grow anymore other than people being born and dying
Right.
and stuff like that. And so,
Wait, so
um,
there was no way for them to make money in their business plan to begin with, you're saying?
no, 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 not at all. That's sort of like the fucking crazy thing about what happened with capitalism in general in the 2000s is, yeah. So Amazon, so like Jeff Bezos starts Amazon, and he knows that like he's not going to be able to compete with Walmart. Like if he just started it as like a normal business model where he took out a bank loan and started selling books and shit, that Amazon or Barnes and Noble or Borders would just crush him in a moment. And so what he did is he took a bunch of, he got sold a bunch of investors on the idea that you're not going to make a profit for a long time, but when you do, it's going to be an insane profit because we're basically going to completely take over this entire market for online book sales, and then we're going to expand to these other things. And it worked, and it actually was successful. And so a lot of people took that strategy, which was just concentrate on nothing but growth for the first decade of your business, and then figure out how to make a profit after that. And so they took that and turned it into fast scaling and blitzscaling and all these other things. And that's what you have with Uber, for example, or all these companies that are losing billions of dollars, that they just have so much venture capital money and it subsidizes your lifestyle. So, at least for the most part now, and definitely in the beginning, Uber was just like, well, we're going to put cabs out of business entirely. And then we'll figure out how to make money later once cabs are out of business. Then we'll fuck everybody over and raise the prices up. And of course, it's more complicated than that. There's like regulatory rules, and like some people just don't want to stop using cabs for some reason. And so it still hasn't made profit, which is like
That's
crazy.
wild, man. Because they're like, yeah, I'm surprised that Uber hasn't made profit. It would seem like they definitely would have at this point. I guess just the running cost is really high.
Yeah, and they underestimated that. They're just like, well, we won't have employees. People will just work for us, and we'll just make money off of that. And they didn't really realize how difficult it would be to manage that system and keep that system going. But
Someone talking
Spotify,
about this door.
the
Oh,
crazy,
sorry, go ahead.
the thing about Uber, this is sort of what I talked about at my NAM speech, which was well received by the audience, but not so much by like all the sponsors. So if like the example I used when I was giving that speech was like, if we all wanted to go to Red Lobster right now, like if I said, oh, dude, cheese biscuits, and everybody's like, yeah, fucking Cheddar Bay biscuits, and we all wanted to go, we would all run out and we would all like get on our phones. We all have Uber on our phones, and we would try and get Uber. And what would start happening is like when we break it down economically to what the actual value is, the numbers would start getting higher and higher because we were all calling Ubers at the same time, and there's only so many chauffeurs in the Anaheim, California area. And so what would end up happening is the value would be placed on how much our time is worth. And so the richest person would probably get to Red Lobster first because they'd be able to afford a $250 Uber drive for a couple miles, whereas the rest of the people would be like, I can't swing that. I'll have to wait 45 minutes for my Cheddar Bay biscuit. So that sort of same thing so Spotify has a very similar business model where everything's subsidized by venture capital dollars, but the problem is that like they don't own your music. They don't even have a license for it. Like you can pull your music out of Spotify whenever you want, or your label can, or whatever else. But more importantly is that they've devalued music to the point where it's hardly sustainable. And so they've devalued the one thing that they're trying to sell to customers while trying to achieve profitability at the same time. And intellectual property having value is sillier than Bitcoin having value, right? Like it's really like I'm making a song and it's worth this much money. It's really just out of our ass. And so the whole thing is just kind of coming to a collapse. And it's going to be an interesting like 10 years to see how the music market even moves, or but that's a good question. I think it's on like NAM Plus or something, but I don't know. I should really try and find a version of that.
Also, while you were talking about that, I was
Yeah.
Googling this door that this dude's talking about. Have you seen this door before?
Yeah.
I've never
Yeah,
seen
our
it
door.
before.
Yeah.
Is it free?
I think so, yeah. And it runs on Linux, right?
Yeah,
think
that's what
so.
it looks like. What's the
Oops.
benefit of it other than it being free?
Um, I don't think. I mean, it's like a shit thing to say, but I don't. I mean, I do think it is pretty far behind other DAWs
Yeah.
in terms of. I used it years ago,
Oh,
but
okay. So it's not that new or anything.
yeah,
Huh. Okay.
it reminds me a bit of Reaper.
Yeah, that's what it looks like, but like a
Yeah,
shittier version of Reaper.
yeah. But I mean, yeah, it's a good project.
Is it have like inbuilt plugins and stuff, or is it just kind of a container for you running everything inside?
It has, yeah, it has like I know it has some mix bus stuff, but yeah, I think yeah, it probably has like not as many as FL probably.
Hmm.
That says
Man, I've been like really stoked lately, like because I've been mixing my album. I've been really stoked on like hardware emulation stuff, like 1176 clones and
yeah, you
like
were telling me.
yeah, dude.
Yeah,
There, and I've been getting real nerdy about it. I've been looking at them in Plugin Doctor to see like what the phase responses are of all of them and stuff. And they actually are much better than EQ8 and Ableton and some other stuff in terms of like phase shift and all of that. And
yeah,
I'm really only just starting to get my head around all that stuff. I feel
yeah, and
like
like
how
I
phase
was,
shift issues and whatnot affect your final mix and like how you can just kind of chase your tail by
yeah,
creating them and stuff.
and I was, yeah, I remember I was showing you the 500 series stuff.
Yeah, man.
It
I
was
don't know if I'll probably just like do. I got the Slate Digital plugins, and I know that some of those are emulations of the 500 series stuff. But yeah, I think I probably won't get into the 500 series stuff.
I think doesn't IK Multimedia, don't they have a 500 series emulation now? I'll check. I don't know.
Okay, Multimedia 500 series VST. See, Mixbox. Yeah,
Yeah.
they do. Yeah, all the effects you need in one rack.
Do I still have a membership to this, or did they pull it because I didn't make a video about it right
70
away?
award-winning mixing processes and creative effects derived from T-Rax, Amplitube, and Sample Tank
My
into a
username is
convenient 500 series
Ben666.
style plugin. Nice. Huh. Yeah, I wonder if these are like actually modeled off like the actual hardware, or if it's just like plugins that are in the shape of a 500 series rack.
Nah, I got it. I'll download it. I'll let you know.
Yeah, I'd be curious. Because yeah, I'm trying to find like what the best workflow is. I think like the best workflow for me is just find the good emulations that are solid and just save them in a collection in Ableton, so I just have them all there or something.
Yeah.
I've been using Live Enhancement Suite lately, which is good for that too. You just like write stuff in a text file and then you can double right click to bring up like a menu that you can just select any plugin from that you have in the text file.
That sounds crazy.
Yeah, it's nice.
Huh. Have you done any sync work?
Sync work, like as in like writing music specifically for an ad or something.
I think well, technically, when I think of sync work, I think of like somebody licensing previously released music. But yeah, I guess sync work would
I haven't
composition
actually.
too. But
I have a lot of people that hit me up saying, "Can they use my tune in a YouTube video or something?"
yeah,
And I always just say, "Yeah." I'm just
yeah,
like, "Yeah, go
I'm always
for it."
like, yeah, you might get copyright.
That's what I say too. I'm like, "Yeah, go for it," but like you're probably gonna not be able to make money on the video.
Yeah, like it's
And
it's like a fucking lion that I didn't want that
yeah,
just guards me, that just bites everybody who tries to use my music. And I'm like, no, lion, get away. I don't like you. And it still does.
but yeah, I have done a bunch of work for like I did that 10 cent project at the start of the year when I got out of rehab and needed money.
Yeah.
And I basically have like an open invitation to sort of go back whenever. But that work is like demanding, dude.
Yeah.
It's like they'll say, all right, we need like this track today, and then the next day they'll be like, all right, that one's got to be done like today. Here's another one, and then the next day they're like, here's another two, and the next day they're like, here's five more. It's like you're like, what the fuck? Like I can't write this much music this quick. But yeah, it's fun for a minute. But yeah, I had to take a break from that because I wanted to do my own shit for a bit.
That's what
It's
ad.
interesting too, though. Like when they give me that kind of work, I can bang out something in basically a day that I'm like, that's fine, that works, and just give it to them and they're happy with it. But if it's for my own shit, I have to sit on it for months and like overthink the fuck out of it.
It's, yeah, because I did ad music forever. And like, I would always, yeah, when I got the most successful at it, I would set a timer and then just like work on the timer. Like I would be like, okay, I only have like an hour and a half to finish this, and then it has to be done. And it's funny because like my first intuition would be the one that the client would generally want to be involved with, more than anything else. So it was kind of trying to see if I have.
Somebody, Cloudborn, if you want to hear a movie scored by me, look up Mum and Dad with Nicolas Cage and Selma Blair. I scored that whole movie by myself. That was like a weird email to get, man. The dude, he's like, "Hey, I'm the producer who made Crank and Crank 2. Would you like to score one of my movies?" I was like,
"Oh, that's the same producer."
Yeah.
Okay, I've enjoyed the Crank movies.
Yeah, they were awesome. And he also made a movie, I think it was called Gamer, with Gerard Butler maybe, or Liam Neeson, I don't know, who was like basically like Counter-Strike in real life sort of deal. I couldn't exactly remember the storyline. And did you ever watch the series on Sci-Fi called Happy, with that little blue horse that's the friend, like the detective who's like delusional and sees the little cartoon blue horse?
I'm familiar with it, but I've never seen it.
So it was a comic book series first, but he was the one who produced it into a show on Sci-Fi. That was actually a really good series.
Interesting. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, that's that's funny. I don't know. You know, I mean, I've done a ridiculous amount of sync work, but I'm so tired of it. Like, I couldn't do it anymore. Like, I did
if you don't mind me asking, like, how much would you get paid for that kind of stuff, like on an average?
So, like, now you don't get this anymore, like, just because the industry's gotten, like, way too advantageous, or not advantageous, way too...
like, competitive, right?
Competitive, and yeah, they just, like, don't really... not very nice to musicians, but so I would generally get, like, a $500 demo fee. So somebody would be like, okay, we have a Toyota commercial... here's the video. Yeah, almost ideal. I mean, it was in my contract. Ideally, I would get a video that was locked before I would write music on it. And they'd say, okay, here's a Toyota commercial. It's a family getting into a car and then driving, and then the car turns out to be powered by people, by wind power or some shit. I don't know. The fucking dumbest ad in the world, but it's probably smarter than half the ones that they write. And then, okay, we need music for it. And then I would usually, there would be like creative brief with the music. I would never talk to the client directly. I'd always go through my agency, because otherwise, like, why am I paying them, or why are they taking such a cut? And a lot of times I would hit them back and be like, yo, what song did you put up to this? Like, what song did you edit this to? You know, this U2 song or whatever it is. And, because I'll use that as a reference, but I won't actually, sound exactly like the song to where it would be obvious. Because that was always like a very good way of just knowing what the hell they wanted. And if I got one of those, then it was an easy job. And then a lot of times there was like turnovers that were like 2 days. Sometimes you'd have turnovers that were like 24 hours. And then I would get the $500 demo fee. If it got used in the ad, then I wouldn't get the demo fee, but then I would get between if it was like a 15-second Canadian ad, maybe $1,200. If it was like a 30-second American ad, it'd be closer to like $4,000 to $5,000. UK ads paid the most. Yeah.
And when you say a locked video, does that mean locked as in like nobody else is competing with you on the demo fee, or does it mean locked as in that's the final edit of the video?
That's the final edit of the video, and they are not to open it again.
That pissed me off with Mum and Dad. I would like score something perfectly to a thing where like everything hits at the right time, and then they'd like change the cuts and be like, oh, sorry, we got a new version for you. I'd change it again, and they're like, it'd probably be the last version, and then they'd change it one more time or something. I was like, fucking hell.
Yeah, that's super unprofessional. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if that happened, I would just be like, I get another demo fee, or I'm not doing it. Yeah, because that ad happened. But I mean, it's kind of funny though, because I mean, there are some jobs that, I got. The famous one that I always like love to tell people about whenever they like talk about like wanting to get in that industry or acting like that industry is super easy or something. What is the name of it? Massey Hall in Toronto. It's like the Carnegie Hall of Canada. And so it was built in like 1906 or some shit, and it closed down, and like it closed down for renovation because it's like the most prestigious, you know, music hall in all of Canada. And then they were reopening, and they wanted a song to like play on the radio and internet that would sort of commemorate the reopening. And it was just this kind of a weird idea to begin with. And the song had it was the most demanding fucking thing ever. They were like, okay, so we obviously started out with classical music. So we want classical music, and all of this has to be the same sort of song, but it'll blend from classical, and then it'll have jazz, and then bluegrass, and then Indian contemporary, because we've had a lot of that, and then metal and like, you know, old like 80s cock rock type stuff, and then disco, because we've had disco acts, and then EDM, because we've had, you know, Dead Mouses played here and whatever else, and then and I'm sure I'm missing some, and in all of that, and we want all live instruments. We don't want any MIDI sounding instruments, anything like that. And it's due in 40 hours. I was just like, okay. And it was just one of those things where I was like, dude, that's impossible. And the producer was like, Ben, I really need your help on this. This is such a good client. Like, this agency's such a good, like, really just give it a whirl, try. And so I don't sleep the entire time. My house is like a rotating, like, musician in and out, like recording one vocal, recording one instrument, you know, recording one. And I delivered the entire thing. I think I pull it off better than I could have ever imagined. And then they were like, well, let's not do it. And then we're not going to do this. And that was it.
Yeah. That's annoying.
Oh yeah, some people remember. I think I've played part of it. Yeah, it's like it's my craziest musical achievement.
It's like you would actually consider it to be one of your more impressive songs that you made?
No, not like, you know, I would never release it or anything, but I mean, just in terms of like giving some instructions, like, you know, like I guess it would be like if I were like, all right, man, like I need you to fucking lift my Tesla because I can't afford a tow truck and I need it done in 5 minutes. You need to like carry my Tesla to the other side of the block, and you fucking did it. And then I was like, nah, you know, I'm gonna tow it back to the spot. It was like, I feel like it's more of one of those things where it's like I was really proud of myself, and then I was like, of course you don't want it. Why would you? You know.
I'm tripping right now. I just installed the IK, like the product manager, because I was going to check out this Mixbox thing.
Oh shit!
And it looks like I have 10 authorizations for every single one of their plugins, but I don't remember ever buying them.
Those authorizations are, yes, I remember going through this.
Does it actually mean I own them, or is it like a demo?
It's like a fucking demo. It's.
That's bullshit.
I think it's just to like get you to like install them.
Right.
Just so then, you know, you owe money.
So you're like, I own all these, and then all of a sudden you use them on a project that you're stoked about, and then you have to buy MC. Yeah, that's bullshit. Wait,
Mom,
Pop was saying
a bunch of IK stuff, and then you got to disappoint her.
Wait, Pop was saying, can we hear the thing? I'm curious as well. Can we hear it?
Yeah, I mean, why not? Sure. I'm sure I could find it.
Yeah, a few people are stoked to hear this, including myself.
It's highly delusional. That's the best way I could.
I love delusional shit.
Yeah. Let's see, somewhere in this FTP tracks. Oh, that was easy. All right, here it is. Processing, and it's not too long, fortunately. There we go. Weird. Why is it doing that? Huh. I wonder why it's playing all weird.
Is it not supposed to be that fast or something?
Yeah, it like changed the resolution. But yeah, this is it.
The little scratches.
Yeah, they wanted hip hop. Cock rock, here we come. Indian contemporary. Disco. This part was the hardest. In terms of like the amount of instruments all at once. And they're like,
that's pretty wild.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's a wild tune. As you did well to mix all of those genres together so seamlessly
and so quickly. Yeah, just super tight deadline.
Yeah, that's like a 3-minute tune where it goes through like 8 genres or something.
Yeah, but that's why sync work sucks. But
you still got the demo fee though, right?
I actually don't know if I did because it was through an independent producer. I mean, I'm sure he like scratched my back in some way for it if I didn't, but like otherwise I would fucking hate him. But yeah, I'm still on very good terms with him. He's one of my favorite people in the world. But yeah, it sucks because a lot of people ask about that industry and I'm always just like, don't, which is like sad.
It's a tough industry. It depends. Like, those people who if you don't want to work to somebody else's schedule and you want to have days where you can just chill, then yeah, don't do that kind of work because it's super demanding and you can't just like walk away from it when you feel like it kind of.
Also, like you need to understand that like if you go to like a bar if you go to like a hotel bar and take the guy that's like yelling at the sports screen and like high-fiving his friends, that person is probably a fucking creative at an ad agency and he's going to be making all the decisions that, like you need to just understand that like you're writing for that person, not necessarily for the best, which sucks. You don't want to believe that, but that is true. Like you're just trying to get the thumbs up from the person who is in charge of the project and he really likes Creed or something, it's just like, it's going to be some weird, like this guy listens to Nickelback and shit and like, yeah, you just have to like read his brief and be like, okay, whatever, I'll do what he wants. And then, but the goal is then you collect go, you collect your money and then pass go and then work on your own music and not have to worry about if anybody likes it or not, which was my plan that
well, you still have to worry about if somebody likes it. You just don't have to worry about if that guy likes it.
No, I mean like my own flashbulb stuff. Then I would like, take the money from that and then I just really didn't care if my album would get highly praised or not, just because I was making money through that world. And so It was like, okay, I'll get this done right away, then I'll work on some crazy flashbulb shit, and if people like it, they do, and if they don't, they don't. But in a weird way, I feel like that kind of goes along with what we were talking about earlier, where I wasn't part of a genre because I don't think I've felt like the need to do it or something. I don't know. Like I feel like that helped me just keep things more pure and however I want it, rather than trying to make some sort of cohesive genre-based thing. But yeah.
Yeah, you pay a price for it, kind of, to just like do your own wild esoteric thing. But sometimes that can work out really well too. Like I feel like Flume did that to some degree, and now he's like one of the biggest producers in the world. But I think that also he just kind of like his very esoteric thing just somehow lined up with like everybody, like a part that have resonated with everybody, sort of.
Well, and I think you also just sort of, yeah, it's like you have a smaller fan base that is way more dedicated or something. Like you have less people, but they will buy everything that you do, and they will come to every show that you play in. You know what I mean? They're sort of, you end up with like more lifetime fans.
I feel like those big artists have those too, actually. In fact, they may have like a way more of them.
You think for a long time?
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
Hmm.
somebody like Ganja White Knight, like it's crazy. Those people are like a cult. Or
Hmm.
Bass Nectar, like he
Yeah.
has.
What's his status now? Like
I
what's
mean, if
the
he wanted to do a show, I'm sure it'd sell out still. Like Datsik, right? He's another one. He's massive. It had like a shitload of rape allegations, and then recently threw a show in Hollywood at a club called Avalon, and it sold out.
so,
So
yeah.
I
So
don't
like
know. I
yeah, I
mean,
was wondering like if people forgiven Bass Nectar, have they like yeah. Did he even make a statement? Did he even like make any sort of
Bass Nectar, yeah, he's made a few, but none of them have included him like taking any sort of um, like accountability or anything. He's basically, every statement he makes is like, it's so horrible that all of these allegations have come out against me, and it's so horrible that I'm going through this thing where everybody hates me and stuff. Like that's
right?
basically all of his responses have been basically that. Like, oh man, it's so like you can't even imagine how bad this is for me. Like that's that's basically every response from him so far.
Yeah. Yeah, that's bizarre. And I feel like I don't know. I feel like one weird reality of that like it's not good optics to say it, but it's like we all have a number of friends who would have behaved the same way that he did had they had that
Yeah.
opportunity. You know what I mean? Had they had like uh an 18-year-old girl or whatever like wanting to hook up with them in a hotel
It's
or
funny because like Louis C.K. has a joke about this bit about slaves. He's like, he's like, people have like all sorts of different kinds of confidence, right? He's like, some people have this moral confidence where they're like, oh, if I was back in that time when everyone had slaves, I wouldn't have had them. And
yeah.
it's like, well, yeah, you can't have them. You can't. There's no slaves to have anymore, so you can't really say that. Like you might have. And I feel
Yeah.
like it's the same. Like people going like, oh, if I had an 18-year-old girl coming on to me who wanted to have sex with me, I wouldn't have done it. It's like, well, there is no 18-year-old
Yeah.
girls coming
Yeah,
on
it's
to you.
like
So
until you're in Bass Nectar's shoes,
yeah.
like then you can't really say if you would or would. That doesn't mean that like his behavior I guess what I'm trying to say is his behavior, like his like manipulative behavior, from what I've heard, I know a bunch of dudes throughout my life who behaved the same fucking way with women, who just guys who are like your womanizer friend, or the guy who like tries to like hook up with every girl that he meets, or just like the pervert dude. And like it's yeah, again, it's like I that's not excusing it, but it's like, man, it's way more common than people think, which is not a good thing. But that was sort of like my take from it, is like, man, I know a lot of guys who kind of are behave that way, unfortunately. But
Yeah, totally. Yeah, unfortunate but true. I mean, if you look at the state of women's rights and stuff in the world, then of course there is a bunch of guys who behave this way. It kind of spells it out for you.
wait, he settled? Wait, I didn't even know that Bass Nectar
Yeah,
was
he
was
did. He went to
sued.
court. Yep. Also, Space Jesus was, and he actually lost.
Really?
Yeah.
What? So what was Bass Nectar sued for? I thought it was just like I need to read on this. Suit. Bass Nectar suit. I'm gonna end up like getting like some sort of Bass Nectar costume. Hmm. Oh, from the minors or whatever, while they were under 18 and soliciting naked photographs. I'm surprised that there's no criminal. I mean that's kind of a. I mean whatever statute limit. No, that's not a long statute. It's 2014, 2016. Weird. Anyway, uh, yeah. Well, it's funny because I feel like the how many times have you been like I don't know. Like I know you went through the tweet about the trans MMA fighting thing.
Mm.
I went through.
Which people still don't forgive me for. There's like still people who won't come on my podcast for that, and who have like unfollowed me on Twitter because of that and stuff, and like won't forgive me for it, even though I think like I made a just honest mistake, and obviously don't hate trans people. But I don't know. I fucking hate people like that, to be honest. I feel like we need to be better at forgiving people who have done forgivable things and being able to tell the difference. I think people in general are not very good at that.
Yeah, and I also think it's funny because like when Red Means Recording was doing his Chris Henson video, I think he mentioned you in that video.
Oh, did
He,
he?
yeah, I think because when I was talking to him about it, I led him to the way you handled that. And the way you
Mm.
handled that was you just like suspended Twitter and then you read up on a bunch of stuff and asked a bunch
Yeah,
of
I spent
people
like
and
two
then
days straight, like just learning about this
yeah,
thing that I obviously didn't know enough about, because everyone was like, "Wait, you're saying this? That's the worst thing you could ever say. You're a trans hater." And I was like, "I don't think I am, but maybe I am." So
yeah,
yeah, I definitely like went and listened to at least 10 podcasts on this problem,
yeah,
uh, and basically learned everything I could about it, and then told everyone all this stuff. And some of the people who were hating on me, who did come around and be like, "All right, you actually did a good job on apologizing here," actually said that I taught them some things that they didn't even know. So
yeah, yeah. I mean, you kind of you accepted the possibility that you were wrong, and then you
yeah,
were just like, okay, I'm gonna go explore this. I'll be back. I'll let you know how. And it wasn't even yeah, because I feel like so many people look at that where it's like you either you either flick them off and say fuck you or you bow down to cancel culture, and it's like, well, no, I think that like sometimes you can make a mistake and you can with dignity, like you don't have to, you're not bowing down to anybody. You're just like, I was wrong, and this is what I learned, and it doesn't necessarily have to be like an ego an ego thing.
yeah, exactly. And like, yeah, getting like sort of jumped on like that by half of Twitter doesn't feel very good. So I was like, oh shit, this sucks. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna go figure out what's wrong here with my thoughts,
Yeah,
and try to realign them. And I don't know, like I've talked to so many people about this since, and so many of them have been like, wait, guys should be able to fight women in the MMA. Like they don't even
right.
know this, you know? It's like a lot of people, it's just such a
Yeah.
non intuitive thing to think about. I don't know. But
Well, it
anyway,
is.
wait, I'm curious. Was Red Means Recording opinion on me like good or bad?
Yeah, no, it was good. He used you
Oh,
as like an example of handling a misstep like that in a a, a dignified way, whereas Chris Henson sorry, Christian Henson, the Spitfire guy, whereas he just like victimized himself and made up, essentially like fired himself from his own company that he still owns,
hmm.
and that is now like trying to like get it acquired. But um yeah, yeah, it was interesting. I mean, yeah, it was, but yeah, he said it in a good way. I mean, he was like, it was a good thing. But yeah, I remember that day you were like, wait, am I wrong here? Like I remember you messaging me and being like, am I wrong here? And I was like, I don't think you know that much about MMA. Like I just don't,
Yeah.
I think that like the just even I've obviously never been a UFC fighter, but like just in my MMA bouts, the drug testing I had to do and the shit that I had to. A great example, when I was a few months ago when I was sparring with Stephen Thompson, Wonderboy. He's a UFC fighter, and I had to like not take any skin cream, and he didn't tell me this, but I knew it and I mentioned it to him. I did not. I like wore a rash guard pants and stuff because I have a topical steroid that I put on my knee for psoriasis. And I knew that if I ended up grappling with him, or even if I like landed a knee on some portion of his skin,
Yeah, that he might
it,
end up popping positive for
mhm.
some steroid or something.
And then sure enough, the next time I drove up there to the gym, there's this woman in the parking. It was like they were closed, but he was in there. It's his family's like training camp, and there's this woman in the parking lot, and she was like, "Are you from Atlanta?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Me too." And I was like, "Okay." And I was thinking like, "Why the fuck are you here?" Um, it was just this like older woman, and she just showed up, and he has to have an app on his phone that tracks his location, so USADA can show up and take his blood and pee whenever they decide to, and they
Oh
will
wow.
just show. He'll be out on a date with his partner, and they'll just show up and be like, "Gotta bleed and pee, come on." And it's like
Oh
it's
jeez.
that crazy, yeah.
Yeah, that's
But
wild. Well, yeah. So anyway, in the MMA, what I learned is it's all about your testosterone levels, basically. And if you have a testosterone level of under X, then you're allowed to fight with women. But the complicated part of it there is there's some women who are biologically born as a woman who have really high testosterone levels.
yeah.
And, does that give them an advantage? Should they be competing against men? It's like, it gets complicated.
Yeah, and I also think I think that the steroid thing in general is way too strict because the idea is fairness, but like how do you explain fairness, when you have a fighter that is essentially like cleaning the gym overnight to get free jujitsu versus the fighter who's comes from a rich family who's paying $50,000 for their training camp for their first amateur fight.
Right.
Like those. That's not fair. I would argue that steroids are eclipsed by that type of thing.
Is
But
it fairness or is it safety for the fighters? Because I would think that making sure that men can't go into the women's league and beat the shit out of them if they've become a trans woman. Is it more about fairness or more about inclusivity, you think?
um, I I mean safety is obviously a huge consideration, but there are weight divisions. So I think like that's the first thing, and I mean I'm sure a lot of MMA fans would disagree with me, but I think that like if Amanda Nunes, who's like she just retired, but she was like the 135-pound champion, I I would give her pretty good odds against any of the 135-pound guys. And
Hmm.
nobody's transgender in this situation. And but Amanda Nunes is just that fucking good. Like she is like if I weigh 200 pounds and if she hit me, she would knock my lights out like without question. Um,
And is
she's
this because she has high levels of testosterone or she's just extremely skilled?
I think she's just extremely skilled, and I think she just has like the right combination of ambition and skill, and genetics play into it. I'm sure. Like somebody like John Jones, John Jones is arguably not to me arguably. I think he's the best fighter in the world. I don't think there ever is a better one. I don't think there ever was a better one. And John Jones, two of his brothers, he has two brothers, and both of them have Super Bowl rings because they're NFL players. And like, it's not like they came from some super rich they came from like Buffalo, New York or something. And like, yeah, and he's the heavyweight champion of the UFC. He was the light heavyweight champion. He's undefeated. Like, he's the best there ever was, and his brothers are incredible football players. And it's kind of like, yeah, genetics are probably involved in
Yeah.
that situation, but also like determination. Obviously he's extremely determined.
Right,
But
because yeah, genetics don't play into shit unless you work and stuff. Yeah, one sec. I'm gonna get a drink. I'll be right back.
okay. Yeah, I want to look at the 135 UFC rankings now, and see what make my my bets on who would beat Amanda Nunes. Let's take a look at this. We got all right. So bantamweight. Ooh yeah, Merab's I think he would wrestle her. Sean O'Malley.
Oh wait, he's second now against someone else. I thought you said he was like undefeated champion.
Who? John Jones?
John Jones.
Oh, this is just because this guy just won. John Jones is fucking. This pound for pound, it means nothing. These people don't actually fight.
Gotcha.
Yeah, this is like the 145 against the one. I mean, probably he's 250 now. Yeah, I mean, I feel like Corey Sandhagen. Like, I feel like Amanda Nunes would fuck him up. Yeah, sucks that she retired.
What am I sipping on? I'm drinking LaCroix, and right now I'm taking my night meds, so I go to bed at some point. If I don't I've started taking Seroquel at night to go to sleep, and magnesium and L-theanine and all sorts of shit. And I have to take it 12 hours before I want to wake up, basically, because if I eat it like 12 midnight, I won't wake up until 12 the next day, basically.
Oof.
Yeah, it kind of sucks, but it's the only way I've figured out how to reliably.
Great way to go to sleep. I mean,
It is, yeah, it's great to get to sleep. It's the only way I've figured out how to reliably get to sleep.
Yeah.
And if I don't take it, like if I miss a day or if I forget to take it, I'll be up at like 4 a.m. being like, why am I still awake? And then I'll end up just staying up the whole next day and be all fucking erect and shit. But yeah, I don't know. It sucks to be taking an antipsychotic for sleep, but whatever, it works.
Yeah, if it works, it works. O'Malley's reach would be that. I mean, yeah, but watch her fight with Holly Holm. Holly Holm has a great reach. But, yeah.
The Seroquel shuffle.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, speaking of sleep, we've been doing this for 3 hours. I feel like it's.
Yeah, man, it's always good chatting with you, and it always goes by quick.
And I got to do your podcast too. We got to save some stuff to talk about there.
Yeah, we should do that soon. Yeah, we should. What's your plans for the weekend and stuff?
Parents are coming tomorrow for a White Sox game. But you come back on Sunday, right?
Yeah. I'll check my flight. Hold on. I will be back at 4:30 p.m. on Sunday, so I'll probably just come home and probably sleep or something. But I'm free basically all next week, and then I have another show next week in Tampa on Saturday, and then the week after that I have a festival on Thursday night actually in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm going out of town a few times, but I have but next week I was initially going to go out of town next week, but I've moved it up a week because I'm going to I'm shooting a promo for a product that I can't mention yet, but it's my own product in partnership with the company. But it's nice. And it's not polyend. But is
it like a synth or is it an effect? Or
it's software. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Curious. There's a yeah, maybe Monday if we could get Gardner to be involved, because I know he wants to play with the giant thing that we got on Craigslist. Yeah, maybe Monday I could just we could pick it up or play with it or do whatever.
Yeah, I'm down to hang out on Monday. Maybe Gardner could come by yours with the van, or you could come here or whatever works. I'm down to do whatever.
Yeah, it fits in the back of the Nissan, so. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Although I'm scared to drive the Nissan because the whole bottom got ripped off. So
yeah, that sucks. Yeah, thanks for the recommendation on that car, by the way. I love it. It's the sickest car I've ever owned for sure.
Yeah, Nissan Rogue Platinum.
Yeah, it's a banger.
So anybody knows.
The person the other day from the Nissan dealership that you hooked me up with, they called me and they're like, hey, how's your car going? And I was like, it's fine. They're like, do you want a new car? And I'm like, this is a new car. I just got it last year. And they're like, do you want to upgrade to the new one? And I'm like, I don't know. That sounds complicated. And
right. Sounds like a lot of taxes need to be paid. What the fuck? Yeah.
What is the deal with that though? Do they give you the new car and it just it's basically the same loan that you keep on paying for the old one? Or how does it work? Is it like an iPhone or is it more complicated?
No, yeah, I mean, it's you would probably have increased. Well, here's the thing is I don't know what your interest rate is on that car, but interest rates were super low when you got that car and now they're super high. So I imagine that you would probably have a significantly higher payment.
So it's not like it just translates over payments that you've already made on that car just like translate to the new one. It's like a whole new loan, whole new everything for the
Yeah,
new
well,
car.
you'd sell the car, you'd sell the used one, and then buy the new one. But I
Yeah,
mean,
that seems like a lot of work.
you don't really drive across country that much either. So maybe maybe the next
No.
car you buy might as well be an EV.
Yeah, to be honest, I mean, I pretty much barely drive. Actually, I drive to the store and shit like once a week or something. But yeah,
Yeah.
I did drive to Columbus in that car though, and it was really nice.
Oh, cool. Nice. Yeah. Yeah, it is a great road trip car. Like that's why I kept it. Although I feel like a brat having two cars, but
Yeah, I got the hitch attached recently too, so I'm gonna get back into riding at some point.
same. Once the weather chills a little bit, once it's
Yes.
not fucking the surface of the sun every day, I will be I will be excitedly because I just bought that Fazari, so yeah.
Oh yeah, nice. Yeah, we should ride at some point. There's some good parks around here that I've been meaning to check out.
Yeah. Cool, man. All right. Well, it was great talking to you, and I hope everybody has a wonderful evening.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks for tuning in, everyone, and yeah, I'll chat to you soon, Ben.
All right. See you later.
See you, man.